Again, notice to the public, if you wish to address the council, complete the public wishing to address the council form located on either end of the counter and give it to the council clerk or myself. Prior to the beginning of the meeting. All public comments must be addressed to the council as a whole. Addressing individual council members or the staff is not allowed. Speakers should be courteous in their choice of words or actions, and comments shall be limited to the issue and cannot involve individuals or staff-related matters. All cell phones, pagers, and electronic devices used for communication should be silenced for the duration of the meeting. I'd like to call the meeting of the Terrebonne Parish Council Wednesday, April 13th to order. Mr. Babin, would you please lead us in a prayer followed by a pledge?
Heavenly Father, we ask for your blessings for all those gathered here this evening and ask for your guidance with our thoughts, words, and actions to be in the best interest of this good earth community. Amen.
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 I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Hampton, roll call.
Mr. Navy. Here. Mr. Harding. Here. Mr. Michel. Mr. Rodney. Here. Mrs. Domain.
Here.
Mr. Darren Guidry.
Here.
Mr. Babin. Here. Mr. Dirk Guidry. Here. Mr. Trosclair. Here. Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum present.
Approval of the minutes of the regular council session held on March 9th, 2022. Mr. Babin, is this the one? Okay. This is March 9th. Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Dirk Guidry, seconded by Ms. Jessica Domingue. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Now the next, distribute minutes of the regular council session held on March 23rd, which we have distributed. Did you want to make any comments, Mr. Babin?
Yes, I do. Before we approve the minutes, I would like to make an amendment to it. It was erroneously said the other night, and I tried to get it done on my text, but they didn't get back to me until after the meeting. It was said the other night that Bayou Lodge did not have a summer camp last summer. In fact, they had right at 150 students last summer. The only time they have not had one was in 2020. So I just would like to correct that for the minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Babin, and we're just distributing that. We'll approve the corrected minutes at next meeting. Approve accounts payable bill list for March 28th, 2022, April 4th, 2022, and April 11th, 2022. Moved by Mr. John Amity, seconded by Mr. Dirk Guidry. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion is approved. Approve manual checklist for February 2022. Moved Mr. Steve Trosclair, seconded by Mr. Carl Harding. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. General business. Presentation by parish administration relative to pump stations, generators, pump plant issues, roads, striping, drainage issues, and other related matters to the operations of parish government. Mr. Dove.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for allowing this presentation by myself and on behalf of the parish administration and this government. You know, over the last 2 years, we've seen COVID interrupt all aspects of Terrebonne Parish, from government to businesses to everything. Then we had Hurricane Ida that was back in late August, and that's 7 months ago. And of course, we've seen the Corps of Engineers, D&R permit time increase, but through the due diligence of, the department heads of Terrebonne Parish, the engineers that we use, all these projects that I'm about to show you have moved forward. They're under construction, or they're close to going under construction. And, I want to thank all the department heads and Jules and his team doing the hurricane and doing on everything, and all my department heads for a great job, well done. And I'm going to show you, besides rebuilding Terrebonne, what this government has done to keep all the projects moving in Terrebonne Parish, which is, I believe, really tremendous. So with that, if we could put the board on. Okay, naturally, we're all familiar with the Elliott Jones Pump Station is under construction, $14.5 million. It's equal to the Hanson Pump Station, which has been operating for a year now. It's 1,000 CFS, meaning 1 million gallons every 2 minutes and 15 seconds. This will be pumping in about 8 months. It's got 4 66-inch pumps with 900 horsepower electric motors. And of course, after it took us 2 years to put backup generators on all the old pump stations in Terrebonne Parish, about 25 of them. We do put generators on all, especially all new construction, along with telemetry and SCADA. So with that, I show you some construction pictures. This is out taken a couple days ago, and this is actually in Gibson. Or, off of Bar Black, the batter piles, the pilings that's being driven, and it's moving along well. Sea Level is the contractor, and GIS is the engineering, and everything is moving along accordingly. Now, the Hanson the Hanson Canal Pump Station, $14.5 million project. That's another that was totally funded by the parish with two generators. The reason I'm showing you this, we came along, we had problems with logs and trees and all that semi-float under the water, sunken logs, some people call them, and so we put a series of pilings in place to stop that. And actually, I want to thank Benny Sinak with the Golden Ranch had given us the idea of putting these pilings, and for about $68,000, we corrected the problem, and it's moving along fine. The Shell Oil donation, which was 4,000 acres, we are very close. DNR has finally approved that, and it is going to, it's a $12 million project, and as you can see, there's the perimeter, 311 Bayou Cane. It'll have some operational gates along with sumps along Savannah Road to your left. And now that we have DNR approval on it, we're waiting. The course should be pretty timely. We've talked to working with GIS engineering, we have talked to the Corps, and we're expecting a permit here pretty quick. And this is about a $12 million project. And as you know, Terrebonne Parish bought 40 acres of land behind our government complex in Gray, and we've started digging the mud. We're gonna supply the mud from the pit that we're gonna dig back of in Gray. And what's gonna be good about that is gonna enhance the 11B system by doing a retention area of about 30 acres out of the 40 acres. And we're gonna expand the yard over there for the public works. And that's right behind Rouse's off of Savannah Road. That's Rouse's on Martin Luther King. As you can see, the pump station, the backup generators. We hope to have this under bids out and hopefully go to construction within 2 months, because DNR, the largest leg of the operation has been done. The biggest thing we have, this has never been done in Louisiana. And so the engineering firm GIS was tasked with making sure that they were comfortable, DNR and the Corps, that as we store water in here and release it immediately, that we won't kill vegetation, trees, et cetera, and they were successful in doing that. We're gonna have a 32-acre mitigation, 32 acres we're gonna have to mitigate, and this will help the 11A system, Bayou Cane all the way up to Gray, Shreva, all the way down to the city of Homer. So we've been working on this project for about 3 years, and it's just about to fruition. And there's another the artist rendition of it. And then the Bayou Terrebonne dredging, $8.4 million. We have the money sitting with the statewide flood program, and we plan to do it in 3 phases. And the first phase is from the intercoastal to Broadmoor, from the intercoastal to to the Broadmoor Bridge, what's that bridge? Funderburg, thank you. And so that is close. The next one, that shows a retention area. Now, that's on the Barker property, and we thank the Barkers for working with us right off of West Side. We actually they're gonna run the piping through a culvert that's below Highway 24, and they're gonna put the retention there to be able to pump the dredge material out of Bayou Terrebonne. Bayou Terrebonne was very difficult because you just don't have a lot of areas, and the Barkers have worked well with us, and we thank them for that. Next one, this is right next to Popeye's Fried Chicken on Tunnel Boulevard. This has been dug, and actually the culvert to the left is removed. It's already working. This is part of the LaCorp, the LaCorp pump system that we've been working on. That's going to alleviate the water that's been accumulating at Leveron and Columbus and flooding down further down by Dick Barker's and Terrebonne Ford and a lot of other people along there. So we went ahead and dug this. It's been successful, and like I say, the culvert to the left has been taken out, and it's actually working. And then this shows the different pipings we're going to do, and we're going to end up to 311, go underneath 311, and pump into Little Bob Black with 248s. It's a cost of $6 million. And that is very close to permitting also. And then off of Goals Avenue, that's Jessica's area. Maple Avenue, Central, Wilson, and all that area, we've had problems with the water just doesn't drain quick enough. So they had a big pit that was dug when we built the levee off what they call a 6-foot ditch. So this was the Corps of Engineers. The Corps of Engineers gave the levee board in the parish a bunch of 48-inch pumps. They're basically brand new. And let me see here. Yes, it was basically brand new, 42-inch. And we went across the levee, and Norris and Boudreaux did the project. We spent $400,000 on this project. And the I-beams was donated by the Corps, the engine and the hydraulic system and the pump and the piping. We spent $400,000. Without that donation, we would have spent $1,750,000. So we saved quite a bit of money, and that's going to alleviate all that area, Williams Avenue and Southern and Maple Avenue. And this is that's the pit we're pumping out of. You can see how large it is, right off of Gold. So we have a big retention area that was dug, and I want to thank Lowland. Sold it to us for $2,800, which allowed us to really spend the money on building a pump system. And you've got a lot of retention. We shouldn't have any problem with flooding in that area, Maple, St. Gregory, and all that area. St. Louis Canal, this is a total of 3 pump stations, 30-inch, 12-inch, 12-inch. That's finally was finished. Now remember, all this is being done while we're fighting COVID, while we have the worst hurricane to ever hit Terrebonne Parish, and yet between the department heads, this council voting for the money forward, and the engineers, we've moved forward on all this, and David Rome and his group with Norris Boudreaux, we built this, and that's a 30-inch pump, hydraulic pump, and all this I'm showing you is telemetry and SCADA, most of it, and this is another one, that's those 12-inch pumps. This is the 11B system, very important. We lowered that system 9 inches through the Corps of Engineers. Morris P. Abel was the engineer. MPH did a wonderful job. First time in the history of Louisiana, the New Orleans district ever approved this type of permit to lower an entire system. Now remember, this system goes all the way to Thibodeau. It goes all the way to Nicholls State, 18 miles of Terrebonne Parish that we drain with this. And, my hat's off to Morris P. Abel and his group. We were able to get it done, and It's very successful. You can see where it goes into Thibodeau to the left, right there, and that's the line over Percy Brown Road, all the way back to the coastal by Senac Towing. This is Petite Kaiju at Pump Station, Dirk's area, and this is complete and running. We are changing the generator out on it. It had a 1.5 megawatt. We're putting 2 1 megawatts in there that we're taking from the power plant because the power plant is being totally rebuilt and it's going to be out for some time. And this will help if we do lose a generator. We still have another one. There's another showing of the Petite Kaiju pump station, and there's a lock system that works in conjunction, which we finished, $10 million project a while back. Lashbrook is coming along. Of course, it was slowed down by the hurricane. You can see the concrete piles down, and Delta Engineering is doing the engineering on it. Mitch Mormon and his group, and this is statewide flood program money, and we had a lot of problems because of Ida. Ida really messed up the pump station, so we've got portable pumps until we can get this up and running. And as you can see, the pilings are in and sheet pilings in, so they're really moving along with it. And the Montague Parish levee, which is Steve Trosiclair's area, we've capped all that area behind Montague at least 4 foot of mud. We've worked on it last year and this year. They're finishing it up right behind, not too far from the school, about a 4 foot cap that I worked with Steve Trosclair on, and that levee hasn't been touched for 20 years. So, Montague has a good tight levee behind it. That's not Morganza. That is the parish redundant levee. We've been able to do since I was put in office 6 years ago. We now have 57 pump stations with telemetry and SCADA, remote, and 5 to soon go online, which is going to give us 63 out of the 94. Now, the other pump stations are still on floats. They're automated. Telemetry and SCADA means we can stop, monitor those pump stations if you're in New York City or you're here. And over here would be from a Cat 5 building. And they all have backup generators with transfer switches. So, we've moved on this, and our system, second to none. We're going to have 62 pump stations totally under SCADA. And remember, some of these pump stations are 1048s, 848s, 466s, 448s, 30-inch, 24-inch, 12-inch. And so that is going to be huge for Terrebonne Parish. We actually manage water now. We just don't pump it. Asphalt overlay, we saw cut, full depth patch. 3 crews have been currently working, changing concrete panels, curved sidewalks. We awarded the construction for $1 million recently, and we've completed about 930. So even though we're doing a lot of drainage and all, we haven't forgot the roads. And road striping is under construction. Phase 1, $285,000 is completed. Phase 2, $420,000 is completed. We've got to stripe the road. Now, these are all parish roads that we stripe. Okay, on the Hurricane Ida recovery, all applicable ditches, canals, bayous have been cleaned or being cleaned. Clay Knockan's done a wonderful job with the debris along with others. We've picked up 3.7 million cubic yards of debris. The state has picked up 756,000, and we have 224 requests for private property demo who cannot afford and have no insurance. So if you have a structure on your property, you have no insurance and you cannot afford it, if you call the parish, we will go out there, tear it down, and haul it away for you at no cost to help clean up Terrebonne Parish. And that's Chris Pulaski and his group has done a great job working with Clay Knockan and his group. Let me see. Give me one. The contractors have completed the final pass, and they're now working off a punch list for solid waste. We encourage all residents to call solid waste 873-6739 if you have a debris pickup, because we're getting close to where we won't be reimbursed 90% by FEMA. So it's real important, if you have some trash and all, move it to the road and give Clay Knocker and them a call. The Bayou Terrebonne lock structure, which I've been working with Steve Troseclair on, of course, it's complete, but working with the levee board, we proposed Bayou Terrebonne pump station. This is being engineered by GIS, and this will pump water out of Bayou Terrebonne and over the Grand alignment. Now, this will be built in conjunction with lifting the old sector gate to plus 22 at the same time that we're building a pump station. Now, part of this program is to also build 2 miter gates, one in Company Canal and one by the Twin Span, and make all of Berg, Montague under force pump, like we did in Petite Kaiju. So that is moving along. We did get awarded $5 million from the statewide flood program for this project. And we've already put up $920,000 to the levee board on the engineering of this. So this is, we are moving towards Montague and Berg to be totally under pump. And Industrial Road, that's in the Dirks area. We've been working on this. We've already rebuilt and remodified the pump station on Industrial Road. Spent a lot of money, bulkheading. We added a 42-inch pump that we got from the Corps of Engineers, and now we're moving to build a new pump station, and it's about $6.5 million. We were awarded statewide flood control program allocation of $5 million, and this is Acadian subdivision, Glen Avenue, Elysian Fields, Laban, Jane Avenue. And the state gives $20 million a year to 64 parishes to build pump stations, and we got half of it just here in Terrebonne. We got $10 million out of the $20 million this year. Hats off to GIS, O'Neill and them and his group did a great job. And T. Baker Smith got us preliminarily approved for the pump station, which I'm fixing to go to. This is off Little Bar Black. We're gonna build a pump station that's gonna pump along Highway 311 all the way back to the other pump station we built by Sugarwood. We do have preliminary approval. We didn't get the money this year, but we went out to award the engineering for this. Actually, today we went out to award the engineering for this pump station and the Industrial Road pump station. We're going out under federal procurement for an RFP with engineers. You have to go throughout the United States. But this will pump Little Bar Black, and all areas north of this. It's just going to help it drain, and we'll be able to pump it under force pump when the intercoastal's high. This is a great project. So we actually have $15 million approved by the statewide flood program, and we got $10 million approved this last year. Now, Candace and her group have been real busy awarding engineering and consultant contracts. The Buquet Street Bridge, for those of you who live in or know Dulac, that bridge, a boat got loose, a big supply boat, and rammed the Buquet Street Bridge, and Uval Engineering was awarded it. The Salsla group, let me read it on here. This, we've awarded the Salsla group. It's documentation for public assistance through FEMA for immediate emergency expenses following Hurricane Ida. In other words, these guys, we want to make sure we go out and get our money back in Terrebonne as quick as humanly possible. YKH Consultants, decorative street lights, they're handling the street lights. And CSRS was recently awarded Disaster Recovery Management, Grant Management for HUD, FEMA, and CDBG programs. That's a huge step. That's where we expect to receive hundreds of $millions through all of these engineering firms. And then we had Royal Engineering, which was public assistance through FEMA, as well as insurance, because we have to spend our insurance money for all facilities damaged during the hurricane. And then CSRS Consultants, I think I've already explained to them, they're the grant management for the HUD, FEMA, and CDBG program. We're looking to go after hundreds of millions of dollars that's going to become available and actually rebuild Terrebonne Parish. David Waits Engineering, a lot of you that live on the west side had problems with your gas. There's so many generators at houses now, the gas lines are inadequate. So we've hired David Waits, gas upgrade 311 to St. Charles. So it was actually St. Charles to Hollywood Road, also Highway 311 from Rebecca Industrial Subdivision to Rouse's new distribution ending at K&B Machine Shop. Also along Savannah Road, Valhalla, West Side Boulevard. We're modifying the gas lines because over the years, people bought generators. And remember, during a hurricane, even if you're not there, those transfer switches switch over and thousands of generators come on, and they're running air conditioners and refrigerators and freezers and everything else, and nobody's there. Well, we don't have the gas capacity, but we will for this hurricane season coming. All will be under construction. We've hired a lobbyist group, which is Mary Landrew. The two people we're dealing with out of this lobbyist group is Mary Landrew and Tanner Johnson. Mary Landrew, as you know, used to be a state senator, has a lot of connections with the president administration, and this is all done through administration. So, and I want to thank Candace and her group. Really, you know, they've had to hire all these. They went through a federal procurement process, which they have to follow by federal law, and there was a scoring team that scored and awarded this accordingly, and all documented that everyone had a fair shot at it. And then the next thing we're doing is a state-of-the-art Cat 5 courthouse to include security, parking, base flood elevation, communication, internet, and we're going out for architectural requests for proposal, and we're using a consultant, BBEQ, Barakwa, Benura Engineering and Consultants. And all this has to be approved through GOSEF, and then we can go out for the RFP. And one of the reasons for building a Cat 5, okay, in fact, we're gonna build it right where the old home of Courier used to be, the one right here by the courthouse. After the hurricane, we were tasked with the idea that banks cannot lend money. You can't do mortgages. The economy ceased to exist unless you open up the clerk of court. Teresa Robichaud was fantastic about, we went in there, we got her area in the courthouse cleaned up and whatever, and another one is David Drury. I gotta say, David's the one handling all these buildings, wonderful job. And we got her online so banks can lend money, so people can borrow money, so people can fix their houses. So it's important that we get a new courthouse, not only the judges can go back to court quicker, because as you know, in the United States, we believe in the speedy trial. So that's to help a speedy trial along with the clerk of court getting this community open, and it's a key to the economy opening back. And then last but not least, we've been working on going on 3 years. We've been putting rocks on Island Road. If you notice on the right, that's the south side, that's a +8. On the left, it's about a +5. And what we're doing is, we've drawn a line. That's protecting Morganza, the Pointe-au-Chien levee, the waters inside the reserve, all those new docks built. If you get a chance, go out there. It's really impressive. We're not finished, But we do have protection the whole route. To the right, I don't know if you can see it or not, but you see some pipes coming out. Rocks are porous, so when the water gets so high, it's gonna go through the rocks and drain over, so we've gotta be able to drain the road. So that system has really worked well. And we're putting 400 to 900 pound rocks to make sure that the waves, remember, that's open water to the south. That's on the east side of Terrebonne Parish, which is our worst side. And this is to protect the road. Why protect the road when we're relocating the people on Illinois Charles? Because you have 75 people buried there. We have to keep an access to the cemetery on the island. And out of their heritage, the Indian heritage, they do not believe in relocating bodies. So we have to always maintain this road to get to Illinois Charles Island, plus it draws a line. So with that, I thank you. I know it was a little lengthy. Wait, I got one more. That's a water control structure we built last year, $450,000, and it helped save that road and that bridge during the last hurricane. I want to thank the council for everything they've done, especially our department heads and Candace and her group for moving this thing forward to chase hundreds of millions of dollars for Terrebonne Parish. And as we progress, we'll try to keep everyone a little more in touch. Thank everyone, and God bless Terrebonne Parish.
Thank you, Mr. Dove. Mr. Babin, you have a question?
Yes, impressive presentation. Thank you, Mr. Dove. You touched on the Buquet Bridge, and as you know, that's a very important bridge to commerce down there. Do we have any idea of timetable to know even where we're going from there? And I get calls pretty much daily on it.
We're waiting on a report from Uval,
Okay.
and Uval's done work for us before. They were the successful RFP scorer. And another thing, speaking of the Dulac area, thanks to Mort Black over here, we've been working with the Corps to pay the mitigation on the levees to the south of the jail, to Cedar Grove, and they verbally agreed to pay for it. Now we have to go through the steps, about $1.3 million. So we're gonna be, as soon as we get that, we should get the permit, and we're gonna go there with excavators and build up as much levees as we can. And that's a long overdue levee system. That's actually in the redundant system off of Lake Boudreaux. That's an opening that needs to be closed. From there all the way back to the, what's the subdivision?
Ashland South, actually to the jail.
Well, Canebrake, yeah. From there to Canebrake is what we have to, but remember, that's redundant levees. Morgan's has got it covered throughout. Morgan's is now continuous from 6 miles to the east of Pointe-au-Champ all the way to Miners Canal and Delaware. So we have a protection up with 13 floodgates. Now we need to lift them, and that's, of course, that's the levee board, who, by the way, Tony Alford, Reggie Dupre's, and their team, Greg Gautreau's done a wonderful job. They handled this hurricane on a levee basis. They worked with us, and also, my shout out to Sheriff Tim Saunier, wonderful job, and of course Earl Hughes with the EOC. It just, everything came together, and it was great to work with the new sheriff, and he really, and also Chief Coleman. I don't know if Chief Coleman's here today, but Chief Coleman with the city of Homer, which is under this administration and this council, but everything clicked fine. So thank y'all.
Anything else, Mr. Babin?
Thank you, Mr. Dove, because that was my second question about that levee, that 3-mile section that still needs to be completed. I know that's been a long process. We had problems with the Corps and everything, but hopefully that can get started sooner rather than later, since the Corps is now going to pay for the mitigation. So.
Great.
It should. We should get started pretty quick. Soon as Mort Black can get us the permit.
Good. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Babin. No pressure, no pressure. Thank you for that presentation. People say government can't move fast, but this is 6 years that all this is, and much of this hadn't even begun until, we took office in that time. So yeah, it's a monument to, I think, the cooperation between yourself and the council and just the determination to get it done. Thank you so much. Moving along, item B, proclamation proclaiming April 2022 as Second Chance Month in Terrebonne Parish. Mr. John Navy.
Yes, read this proclamation. The Parish of Terrebonne Whereas since 2017, Second Chance Month has been observed in the United States as an effort to raise awareness of collateral consequences of criminal background and unlock second chance opportunities for people who have been just as involved and become contributing citizens. And whereas Second Chance Month honors the work of communities, governmental institutions, nonprofits, congressional employers, and individuals to remove unnecessary legal and society barriers that prevent individuals with a criminal record from becoming productive members of society. And whereas Second Chance Month calls upon people to observe the month through actions of programs that promotes awareness of the challenges facing those who have paid their debt and opportunity to unlock second chances. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Terrebonne Parish Council on behalf of the parish president and the entire Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government that the month of April 2022 be hereby proclaimed as Second Chance Month in Terrebonne Parish, and that the public recognize the importance of bringing awareness of helping incarcerated and formerly incarcerated persons return to society. Presented to this 13th day of April 22nd by the Parish Council and the Chairman, Darren Gerdry. We got the proclamation here.
Do we have anybody to receive this? Thank you very much. Go ahead and state your name and address for the record.
Yes, sir. Thank you. My name is Hester Serrano. I'm the Reentry Program Manager for the Department of Corrections Division of Probation and Parole. And our office is located on 1404 Tiger Drive in Thibodaux, Louisiana. So reentry itself, the definition of reentry, is the act or process of reentering something. And in this case, it's going to be the act or process of a justice-involved individual reentering or reintegrating into society. With that being said, a good analogy and what I like to kind of bring to the forefront would be we teach our children in team sports that your team is only going to be as good as your weakest player. So we want to make sure that weakest player, that we work with them and we build them up and we bring them up with the rest of the team so that the team gets better. But it is the same when it comes to dealing with our communities. Our community will progress as far as its weakest players, its weakest parts. So we need to make sure that we work with these individuals so that our community progresses forward. So we need you. We need our community leaders. This council has always been supportive of reentry, and we appreciate you. And I'd like to say, so we have my division here, Division of Probation and Parole. We have Goodwill Industries represented here as well, which is one of our big community partners. We have someone here from the Southeast Central Regional Reentry Center, which services Terrebonne Parish. And we also have HPD here present. All of us, with you guys, make impacts in reentry. So on behalf of the agencies that were up here, and as well as the justice-involved individuals in which we serve, we would like to say thank you for recognizing this month as Second Chance Month. Thank you very much. And if you don't mind, I would like to introduce our community coordinator with Goodwill Industries, Miss Sherry Wilmore, so that she can discuss she can let you know some, I know, I'm sorry, I just put her on the spot.
She's never
But
shy.
I know she's not. But I would love for her to tell you some of those second chance initiatives that the Bayou Region Reentry Team has been working on, so that you're aware that we're not sitting idle. We are working within our community to make sure that we can progress reentry forward. So, Ms. Sherry Wilmore.
Hi, my name is Sherry Wilmore. I work for Goodwill Industry as a community coordinator, and my address is their address, which is Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, Houma, Louisiana. I am going to be mindful of people's time because I know I like my time to be mindful of. And one thing I do want to thank is the Terrebonne Parish Sheriff Officers and the Correctional Complex for working with us with their population. So I do want to be mindful to acknowledge them and to give them the kudos. We will be having an employer forum, which will be happening on April 26th, Tuesday. April 26th will be hosted at Fletcher Technical Community College, and it starts at 8:30 to noon, and it gives employers the opportunity to learn how they can better work with this population, hire this population so that they can come home to not just any job, but a better paying job. So they not only take care of themselves, they take care of their families, they pay taxes, so they mean they take care of the community in whole. And so Fletcher is our host, they're one of our community partners as well. So if you have time, I would like each of you to come out if you're in a business or you're a nonprofit to see the work that we do. And the second half of the day will be from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. will be a job fair, that's open to the public, but with a special focus on hiring our second chance justice involved individuals, as well as we would like to thank you guys for giving us this proclamation today. It's not something that we know that the news may have people worry of giving a proclamation for second chance. So we do appreciate you guys for understanding that everyone deserves another chance. So thank you guys. Y'all have a great day. Oh, I'm about to forget, we're doing a Second Sight campaign where if you have readers, which I need prescriptions, but some people just need readers. If you have just those readers and you reuse them or you want to go to Dollar Store and pick them up, we will be collecting them at Goodwill. Terrebonne Parish Sheriff Office is another location, as well as the Terrebonne Parish District Attorney Office. You just go throw it in a box, and that's why individuals, we learn they're doing their time where they're learning educational resources to come back better. They're struggling to read with their sight. So if you do that, and if you want to contact me, you can always contact me at swilmore, that's WILMORE, at goodwillno.org. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much. Item C, proclamation proclaiming April 2022 Sexual Assault Month, Wear Teal on Tuesdays, and Denim Day on April 27th, 2022. Ms. Jessica Domingue.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. And before I read this proclamation, I would like to acknowledge that we understand that this is a very sensitive subject, especially for survivors. And so we are here and we support you guys. A proclamation: sexual assault at its core is a devastating abuse of power, one that affects people of every age, race, sex, gender identity, sexual orientation, national origin, socioeconomic background, and religion. It is the responsibility of each of us to stand up and speak out against it, not only to improve the laws and services available to survivors, but also to change the culture and attitudes that allow sexual assault to proliferate. Whereas every 68 seconds an American is sexually assaulted, and every 9 minutes the victim is a child, and whereas 9 out of every 10 victims of rape are female, and whereas 94% of women who are raped experience symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder during the 2 weeks following, and 30% of women report symptoms of PTSD 9 months after the rape. And whereas 33% of women who are raped contemplate suicide, and 13% of women who are raped attempt suicide. And whereas out of every 100 rapes, 40 are reported, 10 lead to arrest, 8 are prosecuted, 4 lead to conviction, 3 rapists will spend a day in prison, and 97 rapists will walk away free. And whereas in the year of 2021, the Haven answered 130 hotline sexual violence crisis calls and served 102 primary survivors of sexual violence with 425 individual therapy sessions, 66 group therapy sessions, and 41 survivors receiving medical advocacy. And whereas victims should have support to find the compassion, comfort, and healing they need, and sexual predators should be punished to the full extent of the law, while important partnerships have been formed among criminal justice agencies, allied professionals, and victim services to assist victims of sexual violence and their families. And whereas it is important to recognize the compassion and dedication of the individuals who provide services to victims of sexual violence and work to increase public awareness of sexual violence and its prevalence, and to eliminate it through prevention and education. And whereas our parish has a moral obligation to work on the prevention of sexual assault and severe trauma it causes to those affected. And now, therefore, be it resolved that the Terrebonne Parish Council, in behalf of the Parish President, the entire Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government, hereby proclaim the month of April 2022 as Sexual Assault Awareness Month. Be it further resolved that April 5th, 2022 be a day of action, and that all citizens be urged to wear teal to show their support of the survivors of sexual assault and bring social awareness in our community. And be it further resolved that April 27th, 2022 be proclaimed as Denim Day on this, the 13th day of April 2022, and that all citizens be urged to wear teal on every Tuesday during the month of April, and denim on April 27th to show their support in an effort to end sexual violence, to speak out against sexual violence, and to support all local efforts to assist survivors of these crimes in finding the help and healing they deserve. This is signed by Parish President Gordon E. Dove, Darren Guidry, and endorsed by the entire council. Do we have anybody from the Haven here? Okay.
Would you like to say something? Just state your name and address for the record.
My name is Paige Pellegrin. I'm with the Haven. I'm the Domestic Violence Program Coordinator, and I'm also one of the counselors there. I think Captain O'Brien wanted to be here, but we're called, so I'm here. But we had some staff that are out sick, so they couldn't make it. But we just wanted to thank y'all for recognizing this and just let the community know that the Haven's there. So if anyone is experiencing sexual assault, they can contact us at the Haven, and we can help out in any way. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Item D, proclaiming the week of April 21st through 23rd, 2022 as Rotary District 6200 Week in Terrebonne Parish. And as a fellow Rotarian, I'm pleased to read this proclamation, which says, whereas the Houma Terrebonne community was selected as the site of the annual Rotary District 6200 Conference, which will be held April 21st through the 23rd, 2022. And whereas, knowing of the numerous projects and activities that Rotarians have done in this community and in the places across the state, nation, and world, the Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government is most pleased to welcome Rotarians from across most of coastal Louisiana to Houma. And whereas, in light of the catastrophic damages done by Hurricane Ida, we are most excited to welcome a group of men and women who have done so much to help the citizens who have suffered greatly by actively providing food, clean supplies, educational supplies, and other types of assistance needed. And whereas we are also pleased that Houma resident Mark Lee is currently serving as the district governor for Rotary District 6200 for this wonderful organization. And whereas it is hoped that our visitors will truly enjoy our warm hospitality and great food, and that they will get to see firsthand the benefits of what their assistance has done to help our citizens get back to their homes and businesses. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Terrebonne Parish Council on behalf of the parish president and the entire Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government, that April 21st through the 23rd, 2022 be hereby proclaimed as Rotary District 6200 Weekend in Terrebonne Parish, and that all visiting Rotarians and their guests be warmly welcomed to our community for a weekend of fun, fellowship, and learning. It's presented this 13th day of April 2022 and signed by our parish president, Mr. Gordon Dove, and myself, Darren Guidry, as chairman of the Terrebonne Parish Council. And if Rotarians in the audience, I see you out there, come up and please accept this.
My name is Tim McNabb, lifetime resident of Houma, Louisiana. I am also the district governor-elect. I will be district governor following Mark Lee. First, I'd like to thank this council for recognizing Rotary. It is a big honor to be able to host a district conference. Mark Lee chose Houma to host his district conference, and I'm so proud of our community. I know how we will be a very hospitable community for Rotarians. Also, I'd like to thank our Rotarians. As a lot of you know, we touched every district, I believe, in this parish as far as feeding right after Ida. It's a great group of people we have in our community. It started off as Rotarians. We built a wave and brought in community members, and were able to feed. We dished out over 45,000 meals over a 6-week period after the storm. Rotarians came in from Abbeville, from just really across our district, and came here and helped. So again, thank you for the honor, thank you for the recognition, and hope all you guys show up for our district conferences. Will be some great food, great hospitality, and great friendships being made. So thank you again.
Hang on, Tim. We have a few people who would like to say something. Mr. Amity?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and Tim, congratulations on your election. That's 2 in a row. So that's a big accomplishment. You know, how long has it been since the area had a district governor?
Ooh,
Mark tells me all the time, but it doesn't stick. But it's been a while.
Yeah, it has
I
been a
think
while.
Billy Foster was our last.
1990,
Yeah.
Billy
So,
Foster.
again, congratulations, and to all of you guys for all that you do in the community. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Mr. Navy?
Yes, Mr. Nick, I want to tell you thank you also. Appreciate the effort you all did as far as in my district with the recovery process with the Wilmore twins over there. But thanks again, and congrats. You know, well done, well done.
Thank you. Thank you.
Ms. Domingue?
Yeah, and I have the lucky pleasure of having Mr. Tim in my neighborhood, and you guys were really a big help, especially during those early days. And a couple days ago, my 9-year-old daughter, she said, "Mom, it takes a whole town to rebuild," and it sure does, and we all definitely have to stick together. And we, especially those early days, we showed how strong we really are. And so that commendation that you guys are going to be getting here in a few minutes is very much well deserved, so thank you.
Mr. Dirk Guidry?
Yes, sir, Mr. McNabb. Congratulations for your election. I'd also like to thank you, man, for sending all these meals down to Chauvin. I know it was well deserved and well liked. We've had cars that were lined up for a mile down the road waiting for you guys to provide a meal. And from the bottom of my heart, and the people that I represent, I'd like to thank you a lot because it meant a whole lot because the Chauvin area and the bayous, all these bayous got really destroyed. And there was no food, there was no water, there was no electricity, but you guys came and you provided. So thank you a lot, and may God bless you guys.
Thank you.
And on behalf of the chair and on behalf of the Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government, we are going to hereby start the promotion to future Governor Tim McNabb to also bring the conference to Houma, Louisiana. So we'll start that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Item E, a commendation commending the Rotary Club of Downtown Houma in conjunction with the Houma Rotary Club, Houma Terrebonne Rotary Club, and the Houma Sunrise Rotary Club for their outstanding efforts in helping others in the aftermath of Hurricane Ida. Ms. Jessica Domang.
Yes, it is my great honor to read this commendation. The City of Houma, Louisiana, Parish of Terrebonne, a commendation. Whereas in the aftermath of natural and catastrophic disasters, communities join together to help each other. And whereas in most cases, federal, state, and local assistance is delayed while infrastructure assessments are conducted. And whereas Hurricane Ida severely tested the endurance and fortitude of the residents of Terrebonne Parish as they sought the courage and determination to repair, restore, and rebuild their homes and property in the aftermath of the devastating destruction in this parish. And whereas members of the Rotary Club Downtown Houma, in conjunction with the Houma Rotary Club, Houma Terrebonne Rotary Club, and the Houma Sunrise Rotary Club, provided thousands of meals to the residents of District 2 and other districts. And whereas numerous volunteers of the Rotary Club worked tirelessly to help those in need, and whereas, thanks to the efforts of the volunteers, the residents of Terrebonne who were most in need were able to receive a daily meal. Now therefore be it resolved by the Terrebonne Parish Council on behalf of the Parish President and the entire Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government that the Rotary Club of Downtown Houma, Houma Rotary Club, Houma Terrebonne Rotary Club, and Houma Sunrise Rotary Club be commended for its outstanding efforts in helping others in the aftermath of Hurricane Ida. This is presented this 13th day of April 2022, signed by Parish President Gordon E. Dove, Mr. Darren Guidry, and Mr. Carl Harding, endorsed by the entire Parish Council.
Mr. Harding.
Yes. It's almost like the Rotary Club, Tim. Just to let everybody know, Tim has a personality. I'm not surprised at the position that you've been elected to. I think the task that you guys have done in the area that I represent, that we don't have as much of a booster or support And really, man, when y'all made the phone call with my cousin Wanda, and you say, hey, look, I got 500 plates, I said, man, I can get rid of them at any given time. And the most difficult time when I think the people out of Zachary, when they had the parish president or the mayor and the sheriff come out there in the driving rain, and it was, it was a pleasure to go out there and serve the people. And it's like the Oscars, what I mean, best picture, best actor. I mean, kudos to you guys, and I thank y'all very much.
I just want to say, you mentioned a couple of, Rotary is beyond us, but what we saw for Ida was the power of Rotary. When we have a devastation anywhere, a couple of years ago, it was our friends in Lake Charles. We spent a lot of time, a lot of energy, effort, and resources helping these guys rebuild. And again, they returned the favor to us during Ida. As you guys have witnessed, it's a special person that becomes a Rotarian. It's not just anybody. These are people who feel, who love their community, who love people, and love helping people. So my hands, I can't say enough about our Rotary members and the people in this community. I can say some of these guys weren't Rotarians when Ida hit. They are now. They discovered their group. And again, I appreciate the council for recognizing our citizens and our Rotarians, and thank you.
Anything else, Mr. Harding?
I'm not asking.
Moving along, commendation, commending concerned clergy and laity of Christian Churches Incorporated for its outstanding efforts in helping others also in the aftermath of Hurricane Ida. Councilman Harding.
City of Houma, Louisiana, Parish of Terrebonne, commendation. Whereas it's been often said that during times of extreme emergency, the true compassion of an individual is tested. However, it is during this time that communities come together to help each other, and whereas Hurricane Ida severely tested the endurance and fortitude of the residents of Terrebonne Parish, and they sought the courage and determination to repair, restore, and rebuild their homes and property after catastrophic destruction in the parish. And whereas seeing that the need to assist the community and many disenfranchised residents, concerned clergy, Christian churches, and can provided the parking lot along Main Street to serve and distribute staging and feeding areas. And whereas the concerned clergy also provided the cooking trailer and additional food supplies to ensure that the people of Terrebonne Parish were provided necessary nourishment. And whereas thanks to the efforts of the concerned clergy, the residents of Terrebonne Parish who were most in need were able to receive the assistance they needed. Now therefore be it resolved by the Terrebonne Parish Council on behalf of the parish president and the entire Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government, the concerned clergy, and the Christian Churches Incorporated be commended for their outstanding efforts in helping others in the aftermath of Hurricane Ida. Signed by Parish President Gordon Dove, Council Chairman Darren Guidry, myself, and the rest of the council.
Do we have anybody to accept this? If you don't mind stating your name and address for the record.
Apostle Peter Alvis, Covenant Ministry International, President of concerning clergy and liberty. We are very, been a resident of Dularge, 346 Bayou Dularge. Married a young lady from Dularge, so that's my resident right now. And truly, I'm grateful. I'm moved by, just being recognized, just stir up something in me to keep doing what we are doing. And the only thing I have to say, I thank God for all the ministers that stepped up with us to help the community go through a worst time we ever saw. But at the same token, just to come together and see the community get combined like God did it. You know what I'm saying? The Rotary Club, they was right there with us too, helping us. So many things I'm moved by, and it's touching just to be able to receive something that for years we've been working towards helping people. We love people. And the Ministerial Alliance, I thank God for those ministers that stepped up with us, that working right on our side to help us. So I'm grateful that y'all thought about us, give us an opportunity to realize our labor is not in vain. I'm moved, I'm touched right now. But I'm grateful for this opportunity to be able to be recognized in Terrebonne Parish, because I love Terrebonne Parish. But just to be able to, Brother Gaudy, he know I always give him that dap. But really, we are grateful. And I'm not gonna say any more, but thank you, thank you, thank you for recognizing
Mr. Harding.
our labor.
For the citizens of Terrebonne Parish, that we advocated a particular location. I went to this great man, and he actually just turned over a solar parking lot. I think I recall one day with the Rotary Club and the people that we were involved with, we fed 7,000 people hot meals.
Yeah.
7,000 people, thousands of people more than one time. When my car drove up, you can't imagine how the people really realized it. So, well, look, they know something was going on. And just like when the Rotary said, I got 1,000 plates, I can get off 1,000 plates. That's what we got 1,000 plates off. And he rendered his parking lot, his storage area, and the next one. And I know I'm kind of hogging it tonight a little bit, but then I just can't let it go. My heart wouldn't let it go without recognizing what the people not only done for me, because it wasn't just people in District 2 that was in those lines. Right. It wasn't. And I'm thankful to you and your organization.
Grateful.
Thank you very much.
Humble before you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Harding. Moving on, commendation, commending the Terrebonne Ministerial Alliance Incorporated for its outstanding efforts in helping others in the aftermath of Hurricane Ida. Mr. Harding.
Mr. Amity.
Mr. Amity, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and it's my privilege to be able to read this evening. City of Houma, Louisiana, Parish of Terrebonne, commendation. Whereas on August 29, 2021, Hurricane Ida's devastating wind and rain affected nearly every resident of Terrebonne Parish. And whereas damage to the Terrebonne Parish's utility infrastructure impacted the daily lives, challenging many residents with the task of feeding their families. And whereas Terrebonne Ministerial Alliances Incorporated, acting in the spirit of charity, energized its membership to provide emergency distribution outlets to provide residents with essential supplies. And whereas the members of the Ministerial Alliance handed out hundreds of meals daily. And whereas, thanks to the efforts of the Ministerial Alliance, the residents of Terrebonne who were most in need were able to receive a daily meal. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Terrebonne Parish Council on behalf of the parish president and the entire parish government that Terrebonne Ministerial Alliances Incorporated be commended for their outstanding efforts in helping others in the aftermath of Hurricane Ida, presented this 13th day of April 2022, signed by Parish President Gordon E. Dove, Council Chairman Darren W. Gidger Sr., and District 3 Member Carl Harding.
Just state your name
Amen.
and address for the record, if you don't mind.
I would like to first thank God, thank this council for this recognition here tonight. I also owe my Vice President, Pastor Sim, a big thank you because his boots was the first one to hit the ground. And thanking you, Mr. Hardin, for giving us that opportunity to be able to go out and feed within our communities all over Terrebonne Parish. Thanking the folks that came from New Iberia, Lafayette, Laurel, Mississippi. We're just grateful that somebody, you guys, took the time out to recognize the effort that we've done and to let you all know that this is just the beginning. Our walk is yet to be finished. We're going to keep on keeping on until the end. Thank you all so very much.
Thank you, Pastor Fuseli. Mr. Navy.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity to see that the pastoral alignments could really unite. When my daddy died, I was 3 years old. My grandfather, Reverend Kermit Simmons, actually was the pastor that raised me in my life and taught me what God was all about. And I've never in my life been appreciative of a man of that magnitude to come into my life. I've never even met a man like that ever again. But night and day, that man would just talk about the Bible and read the Bible. That's all he did. An old man that had nothing in Mechanicville. And he taught me what love was all about. Not divisiveness, not being divisive, not being destructive, and not being controversial. Just love. And just to show that this community could come together that way, that's amazing. But I think we need to be like that all the time. Not wait till a catastrophic storm of this magnitude bring us together. Okay, so if you really want to believe in God, we got to believe in God all the time, not some of the time, my brothers and sisters. But I want to also thank Mr. Hayward Sin for his due diligence to be also a former fireman for Terrebonne Parish, served those years, and now he's now a pastor. And also, I'm kind of like at tears right now, but I'm glad to see you, Pastor Sam, for the simple fact that you're a Grambling alumni, by the way, and I'm Southern, okay? But we always kid about that. We grew up together as young men, and we grew up as young men from certain communities that was not accepted. But I would say this, we always did believe in God, and we had that strength for us. So it's a pleasure to see the fact that we can come together. But once again, my brothers and sisters, not wait till a catastrophic storm to say we need to unite as a community. Let's do that night and day. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Navy. Mr. Amity.
Yes, thank you. I want to commend all the ministers, all the ministries out there. A lot of people don't realize the government moves real slow. So we were a little slow as a government getting out there and helping the people. But I can tell you that on that Monday, before the winds quit blowing, church ministries were bringing supplies in. I know because I was escorting them through all the havoc on the roads. So again, I want to thank all of you guys for the effort and the love that you show this parish by doing what you do every single day of the year. Thank you, guys.
Mr. Harding.
Yes, and exactly right, John. Sometimes people say, where is the church? And the church came through. And I'm so happy that, yes, Pastor Sims did go to Grambling, also me. But very, very seriously, with this statement, we had a problem. Not only that, we had a problem that within the urban society and some of the rural areas, they didn't have any gasoline, they didn't have any transportation. And I was ministering as a human being, and Ministerial Alliance and Concerned Clergy, they came, they saw I was tirelessly trying to do what I possibly could for the people. And they saw the need that I couldn't do it by myself. And they stepped forward, and we can go to each community making distribution sites. The storehouse was not empty. They still have the storehouse that's still full to people that were in need for everything. And I can't thank you guys enough for what y'all done, for giving me the assistance for the people that were really down in need. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Amen to that.
Motion to go into public hearing.
We have a motion to take up 6:30 public hearings by Ms. Jessica Domain, seconded Mr. John Amity. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? We're gonna get back to the agenda, but right now we're gonna divert and go ahead and take up the 6:30 public hearings. A, an ordinance to amend the 2022 adopted operating budget and 5-year capital outlay budget of the Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government for the following items, and to provide for related matters. Louisiana Highway Safety Commission Grant Award, $81,585. The Houma Police Department LCLE Grant, $101,250. The Houma Police Department LCLE Grant, $22,169. General Fund, Council Meeting Room, $145,000. Hazard Mitigation Plan, $86,921. FMA Elevation Program, $1,496,545. The Bayou Country Sports Park, $500,000. Public once. Public twice. Third time public. Motion to close, Mr. Carl Harding.
Second.
Seconded, Ms. Jessica Domingue. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Motion to adopt, Mr. Danny Babin, seconded Mr. Carl Harding. Any discussion? Ms. Domingue?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The general fund council meeting room, $145,000. Is this to upgrade our system? And if it is, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Let's see, Brian, is he here? Come on, Brian. Brian's with IT, and
So this is very exciting, Brian.
he's
That's
been
why
working
we'd
with
like
me.
you to get up here.
And he has the purchased button. The cart's already filled, and he has to hit purchase, and he's just waiting for the vote. Go ahead. Go ahead, Brian.
Brian Rodriguez, 7868 Main Street. Yeah, so this is going to be a complete new system for the whole room. It's going to be pretty exciting. Y'all going to actually have screens instead of having to look at that. Y'all going to have individual screens where y'all be able to see what's going on right there. It's going to be a whole new voting system and everything, so it's going to be pretty exciting.
The key is it will be a high-definition system.
Correct.
It would also allow, instead of a voice vote, they can do a tally vote by simple pushing a button, and it'll tell us how everybody chooses to vote in that. It'll also upgrade our audio quality, both
Correct.
streaming and such. It will also allow us to more seamlessly integrate situations where we have to have some people on Zoom and some people not. We had some issues in COVID to where if one of our council members would have caught COVID, we had an option that they could Zoom in, and we had this makeshift system where we were gonna have cell phones plugged in with some little Cajun engineered system that we were gonna put together to do it. Thank God we didn't have to try that system out, but this will more seamlessly integrate. The key is it'll upgrade everything to high def.
And one of the issues we have with the current system, other than it being old and standard definition, is that there was no room for expansion. So that was one of the biggest things we wanted to put into this system. We have the ability to expand it for future growth, so.
And Brian and I did travel to Ascension Parish to look at the system in operation, and that's what really sold us on this particular system. So thank you, Brian, for your help. And
Thank you, Brian.
Ms. Domingue.
Yeah.
Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ordinance passes. Item B, an ordinance authorizing the parish president to execute a renewal of a right-of-use agreement between Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government and Harold Cleveland Sr. for the property that bears a municipal address of 408 Country Estates, Houma, Louisiana, 70364. Public once. Public twice. Third time public. Motion to close, Mr. John Amity, seconded by Mr. Dirk Guidry. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion to adopt, Mr. Dirk Guidry, seconded by Mr. John Amity. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ordinance is adopted. Item C, an ordinance to adopt the Terrebonne Parish Government Personnel Policy Manual. Public once. Public twice. Third time public.
Motion to close?
Motion closed, Ms. Jessica Domain, seconded Mr. Dirk Gidry. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Now, I know you have something you would like to say, Ms. Malden?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Guidry. So I gave you, Tammy handed out to you a couple of very minor changes that we are doing to the policy based on some feedback and some more research that we had done. So I just want to point those out to you to let you know the changes. So the first one is in the section 2.9, training and certification. We have removed the training payback agreement section, so we are still covering 100% of the cost, but the rest of it will be removed. Then under section 3.8 for merit awards, the big one here is item F. It's upon approval by the merit award committee that the merit award shall be paid. So we're changing that to make sure that it's once the merit award committee approves it is when it will be paid. When we are obtaining a certificate, it is going to be $100 to $2,000 per occasion, and it depends on the level of certification. And that's going to be in the merit award committee as well. That'll take care of choosing what that amount is. And the last one, H, merit awards shall not be included when determining pay wages. We just removed the terms not wages. The next change we have is in our holiday compensation, section 3.9, item I. We had put in there that part-time employees were not eligible for the holiday regular allowance, and that was incorrect. They should be eligible for allowance. If they're working on that day, they should get the allowance as well as what was worked. So that's that change. The next one is some changes in our disciplinary action part. The first one is section 10.2. We are adding that if there is a suspension or a dismissal, the employee is entitled to a pre-disciplinary hearing with the Human Resources Director. That is something that has been in place. We just needed to put it in the language into the policy. And then the very last one is the disciplinary action appeals, section 10.3. It is the written reprimand, reduction in pay, suspension, demotion, and dismissal that they have the right to go to the Human Resources Board. So we're just correcting what was part of the charter for that one. So again, these are very minor changes. It was from the feedback and some of our research that we had done after we had submitted it to you guys 3 weeks ago, I guess now.
And Mr. Juice, you're okay with these changes as far as being considered minor and us being able to approve that tonight?
Yes, I am. I'm okay with the changes. We worked on it all day today, and we made some changes. Do you want me to answer that other stuff, or it's not necessary? Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Approve the change.
Mr. Harding?
Yes, in reference to this, and bear with me for a second, and these are things I just was concerned about, and I just want to make mention of them. When we're speaking of our employees, anytime you mention the concern comes up at 1 cent an hour, it really just throws me for a loop, you know, and I just, me personally, what I feel. And I just want to perhaps even just throw it out there for perhaps now or even in the future, that those increments, if we're trying to keep people here, number one, and they're leaving every 5 years, you start off with the increase of pay, and you don't get that increase of pay till after 10 years. So I'm looking at the fact that, you know what I mean, maybe we can break that down to, you know what I mean, coming to 5 years. Though increments comes in 5 years, and then really don't mention that 1 cent an hour. I just throws me for a loop there. So I think it would be proactive to achieve what you're trying to do is to retain the people and not let them stay here 10 years. And our mark in the first part of your presentation was 5 years. So I think we can break that down, that 5 years, and start adding that up again. I think another thing that I was looking at in reference to the emergencies, I think there's, forgive me, I have to find this because I looked at this a little bit. The emergency pay. In reference to how it's placed. So the emergency pay with paid employees and employees not paid, because I had some people come up to paid employees and people that are on salaries themselves. So the point was that we had some salary employees working next to people that were making hourly wages, and then that was too far off, you know what I mean? And we were wondering, and the way we were actually to compensate these people, whether we giving them comp time, and then we had something about so many hours, and after so many hours, then that creates a ceiling for them. That does also affect on their annual leaves. The annual leave is if you've been here so many years and you can only get 24 days within a year, that's accumulating time. So therefore, once you start accumulating time, after so many hours, you're going to exceed that 24 days, that 15 days, that 18 days. So how does that affect the employees that has worked in an emergency that has accumulated some time, but then they have a ceiling to the amount of vacation that they can actually take there? So that's another consideration that we can actually look at. Again, another factor, there are some people that also contact me, was the fact that we have 480 hours in reference to the sick leave. And then after 480 hours, let's say if a person gets 480 hours and they get sick, all right, you have those 480 hours, but it doesn't take that long, 2 months or so, to eat up those the 480 hours. So, you know, I mean, in the past, they can have unlimited time to get there, but then now we have illnesses that extend in past 2 months. So a person that's working for Terrebonne Parish and Consolidated government, after 2 months, they are in the position of not really having a job or losing their jobs. So I would recommend also there is the fact that, you know, man, let that ceiling go and perhaps make some lint to it, because kind of tweak that a little bit, because these illnesses, and I was sick myself, just fortunate enough to make it back over here, but then there are others that are taking care of family members also, and that's another part of the program where there's going to be immediate family, and thus when you go as a caring for immediate family, would that person have that opportunity to actually work somewhere else where they have that? So that's a question that was brought to me too. So if you are off taking care of an immediate family member, it should be stated that, you know, I mean, they cannot be employed nowhere else. You know, the other situation is the fact that most oftentimes the people that want a lot of the primary care for taking care of an infant generally comes upon the woman. But then for the parent, the male or the secondary parent, I guess you can say that, he gets an additional 2 weeks. And the question would be, is the fact that, let's say for instance, the husband is a primary person, okay, and the mother doesn't work. So do we pay them 10 weeks of pay? It's just, you know, man. Yeah, okay, then, yeah, well, those are some things when I looked at it and I had a concern. It just so happened I'm fortunate enough to be a retired firefighter. I retired from the state. I've worked with the Consolidated government, and these are some of the things that I actually looked at that we can actually probably tweak within these things to make it much better, because even though we're giving benefits to people, there are some people that will fall through the cracks. And then we don't want that to happen, because we try to provide benefits to the people that's really putting in their time. One more thing, I have one of two of the greatest retirements going on in Terrebonne Parish right now. I also think that when you maxing out at 24, so that means a person, say 24 days, I think it should go to a ceiling of 30. Because that ceiling of 30, you're really rewarding a person. So if a person stays here, you may be able to help me out with this. 24 days is max, correct? For what? For leave. For leave in a year, personal leave. Okay, that's the max, all right? So if I come here at age 20 and work 30 years, I'm gonna have to wait 5 more years to really draw on a retirement. So you staying here, you're working 5 more years, but you have a ceiling of only 24 days of leave. I think that person should be rewarded, so we can break that down to increments of 5 years. Well, that you can max out when you go for the 24, put in extra years, you can go from 24 to 27, then to 30. And then that will reward some of the people that's still here that's working more opportunity. And then also reward them with the lead time. So those increments going back with the pay increases don't go extended beyond 10 years. You can go in increments of 5, well, then you'd be more rewarding of the individuals that are working here. And me personally, I'm just here just speaking as an individual that represented the people and some of the things that came back to me. Those increments should go within 5 years and throw that penny hour out. I think if you want to keep people here, even with that 10 years, 1 penny, that ain't but 10 cents.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
You want to go ahead and address some of those questions, Ms. Malden?
Yes, sir, thank you. So it's not a penny anymore, and the increments for our seniority pay are yearly. And it goes, there is no max. It's 40 years. We actually have it broken out to 50. So that is throughout, their employment. So that is taken care of. The concern about the emergency pay, that was a very big issue that we came across during IDA. One thing I want to clear up is a lot of people say, why can't we get paid? FEMA's going to reimburse us. So FEMA does not reimburse you if it is not part of your policy. So that's why we have kind of addressed that change. They're also not going to reimburse you for something that's extravagant or kind of, out there and the cost of it. So that's why we did it where the first hours are additional annual leave, and after that we will pay. And that's why we have that broken down into the salary of who gets the double time and who gets the straight time. So in order for us to submit it to FEMA, we'll have it in our policy, and it'll be what they should allow for us to be reimbursed. The 480 hours for the sick leave, that is something that we had to put in place for our retirement plan. So the retirement plan requires us to have that max. If we don't have that max, we have to pay the liability of what is over the max. So that is part of the retirement plan that we have that in there. That is something new with the retirement plan within the last couple of years. So as far as not being employed anywhere else while they are on sick leave, that is part of the policy. If you're on sick leave, if you're on family medical leave, if you're on short-term disability, you cannot be employed by somebody else. The parental leave, so there's really not much that we can do. If they sign something saying that they are the primary parent, they get the 10 weeks. We're not going to go knock on people's door and ask, and, are you the primary, the secondary, who's taking care of who, when, there. They will have to sign something. So if something comes up that it's not the case, then we can, take some kind of disciplinary action at that point. As far as the annual leave increments for max of 24 days, the committee had just kind of stopped at that year. If the council would like to make that change, we could try to make that change tonight, or we could amend the plan at a later time. That was just kind of a number that we had all agreed to on the committee. And I think I got most of your questions.
And I have one more, and
Okay.
hopefully we can actually take care of that. It max out to 30. I see a couple of heads out there shaking. I'm not gonna call your name, but some heads saying that we're gonna extend it to 30 days and max out. One more thing too, if an individual that has insurance with Consolidated government and decides to retire, they have the option to maintain the insurance, right? But then do they also have the option to actually maintain the life insurance? And if they, we have a program of such that's set in place that will be offered through Terrebonne Parish Consolidated government in reference to a group, I think would we be in the position to receive more of a discount as Terrebonne Parish and the people that has been retired, and then to retain some life insurance and health insurance. One thing, a factor about me being retired, the most important thing is being able to manage because you're making less. And then if the people that we probably can pay as much as we possibly could, some make more than what I do and some don't. And I'm more concerned about the people that don't make more, just as much as I do in a retirement, then to sustain life at age after working 40 years for Terrebonne Parish Consolidated government, and then insurance and life insurance and stuff like that is going through the roofs. So if we can actually perhaps introduce something that would be across the board with a group plan where everybody across the board, Terrebonne Parish, Consolidated Government, plus the people that has retired, they can have a saving with that also.
Yes, sir. So they do have the option to continue with the group insurance plan. We will look into a life insurance policy for you, and if we need to amend based on what we find, we'll come back to you.
Okay, and one more thing, she did mention to everyone else, if the council chooses to do that, to extend it to 30 days, or you just maxed out. What was that you said?
So the annual leave is the 24 days at, let me find my page. After year 21. So 21 years or more, it's 24 days. So if the council wants to make the motion to approve, but amend it to say, 3 more days at year 25, we can do that as well.
Max out at 30.
And you can max it out at 30.
Right.
Or if you want, so we have right now 21 years or more is at 24. So if you want to go to 25 or more, you get the 30.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Harding. Mr. Babin?
Yes, first and foremost, I wish we didn't have to worry about merit and bonus pays to everybody. I wish we could pay our employees a lot more money. We all know that to give across the board a raise, it has to come from a secure source, that recurring revenue, and it doesn't always happen. We all got an email, okay, and I'm no attorney. I called Ms. Candace yesterday, gave it to her, and she said that, asked if she could pass that on to Ms. Neal, who had worked on it. I'm not a lawyer. I don't want to try and interpret this. I just would like an interpretation, because someone has passed it on to me who happens to be on the talk board, and they got pushed back on
Okay.
it. And I just would like it explained.
Yes, sir. So I did receive your email. We did some research with Miss Michelle Neal as well as Jules Aber, and I think Jules is going to be able to give you the answer that we need.
Good, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Aber.
So I'm going to break it down in 2 categories. There were 2 general questions asked in Mr. Babin and Mr. Watkins' questions concerning the merit pay raise, and that is the legality of a merit pay raise. And then they broke it down into individual items that were being considered for the merit pay raise. So let me give you a little history, because the history is always telling of what transpired and what the law generally turns out to be. Under the Louisiana Constitution, Article 10, Sections 7, 8, and 15. The Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government, when it was formed, had the authority to set up a classified system. Now, what that means to the layman, because you can relate to it better, that means like civil service. And the classified system under the Constitution brings up 2 words: merit and competitive, okay? So the Constitution recognizes in a classified system that you're doing it based upon a competition and your evaluation of your employees based upon the merit, all right? So how does that get us to where we're going, and whether or not there's a violation of Article 7, Section 14? When the Terrebonne Parish Home Rule Charter was formed, the Home Rule Charter, Section 4-10, basically sets forth the Human Resource Department. And in that Human Resource Department, it says that, and I'll read it to you from your own Home Rule Charter. The Human Resources Administration, it shall be the policy of the parish to employ those persons best qualified to perform the functions of the parish and to foster effective career service and parish employment. All appointments and promotions in the department, offices, agencies, and special districts shall be made on the basis of merit and fitness. So the Home Rule Charter is tracking Article 10, Section 7 of the Louisiana Constitution, okay? Merit is allowed. Okay, now, there is a state statute, and it's 33 Louisiana Revised Statute 33:1891 XX. And generally, that part of the revised statutes is set up for non-home rule charters, because the powers to local government under the Louisiana Constitution state that the local governments can only do what the legislature authorizes. And that began with Title 33 began in the late 1800s, okay, because they had to start passing laws, the legislature authorizing what local governments could do. In 1974, the Louisiana Constitution was amended, and it provided for home rule chartered governments, where you make up your own local rules. And so those founders of our home rule charter adopted a classified merit-based competitive system. So if you track and just look at what the statute says, that statute for non-home rule charter says that municipalities can form merit-based systems if it's done according to a plan. All right. Generally, any wages or benefits is done according to a written plan. Merit-based systems are not subject to Intentional Discrimination Acts 23, 381, H3, 331 H3, which says unless it's on the basis of discrimination basis, merit-based systems are not subject to the allegations of intentional discrimination. So we know that there's 5 categories, and that doesn't fit in. So the Attorney General opinions that were cited concerning bonus, this is not a bonus plan. This is a merit-based plan. The Attorney General, going back to 1992, in Attorney General 175, approved merit-based based on future pay, and defined merit as the following: matters not ordinarily done and can be based upon evaluations of employee performance for future services. And that's exactly what we're done. We have a legitimate legislative interest to ensure that we can retain employees. And Councilman Guidry was the one that brought it up when this came up 2 or 3 weeks ago and said, whatever we got to do, we better do it. Okay?
It's not exactly what Councilman Guidry said, but.
Councilman Dirk Guidry, okay?
I don't know, maybe Dirk.
And so in any event, you know, what's ironic about it, when I got into this and I started looking, it just so happened that the Louisiana First Circuit Court of Appeal back in 1997, in the matter of Ramirez versus Department of Social Services, 694 Southern 2nd, 1157, Louisiana Appellate First Circuit, 1997, had to opine where merit-based pay was being granted for master's degrees. And the challengers got into it, and they got in a debate about, well, why would you give merit over non-college graduates? And the court went on to say is that we're not saying that because you got a college degree, you're smarter or have more skills than anybody. However, it enhances your system to have a merit base, because the more education you have, it has to help the system. And so they went on to say that there was a legitimate interest based upon Article 10, Section 7 of the Louisiana Constitution, that in a civil service system, you can have merit-based programs. So in my opinion, the merit-based program is totally legal. Now, that's, like Paul Harvard says, now let's get to the rest of the story. All right? The rest of the story is I went through and I looked at every one of them. I discussed it with Michelle today, and Candace and I met. We went over it. We looked at every one of the programs. Every one of those programs, in my opinion, can be established for merit-based pay. Yes, you could ask them some questions, but it's set up to where it's going to go before a review committee, and the review committee is going to make those determinations. So we change in the language to say that it shall not be paid merit-based pay. It's going to say, based upon the approval of the review committee, then if the review committee accepts it as the application and says, yes, you meet the criteria of what we say, then you will be given the merit pay. So the number of categories, for example, there was one, I believe I saw about the merit about a certificate. It's about the certificate. And I read what it said. Let me give you an example. Let's say that we have in our Public Works Department somebody working, okay? And we need, in our Public Works, during the summer, they're working out in the field, they're working all around the parish. Let's say that somebody says, well, you know, I may go get certified to be an emergency tech. You got to receive a certification. It's required by state law. So somebody will say, well, you know, I'm going to go get certified. And that if something happens while I'm in the field, you know, before an ambulance can get there, or fire department can get there, we're going to have a certified tech. I'm sure David Rome would surely like that. So that's just an example of what can be accomplished with this merit-based program. There are a number of things that can do it to give incentives, and there's a fine line between what a merit and incentive in my mind, because the test is basically the same. Are you rewarding somebody for something extraordinary that they're doing, that they didn't normally have to do? Okay, that's basically what the Attorney Generals have said. So the Attorney General has said, but not only that, but the court case. So with regards to the individual items, we made some tweaks to it. Candace and I talked about it, and we made some tweaks to the 6 items. But other than that, I think we're good to go.
Well, good.
Thank you, Mr.
Again, the short answer would have been that the Louisiana Constitution changed it to give home rule charter people the ability to do this, where somebody like Terrebonne is not a home rule charter, and they did. That would have been the short answer, okay? But the question needed to be asked because we're not attorneys, okay?
Well,
Thank you.
The reason why you got the long answer, Mr. Babbitt, because the short answer that was sent in the email had the wrong constitutional order.
Well,
I prefaced
Thank
by
you.
saying I'm not an attorney.
thank you for that very, go ahead, Mr.
That's the
Babbitt.
same question. All right, well, I
Okay,
was
I'm
trying to finish the statement.
Okay, thanks for that very thorough presentation. Any more questions, Mr. Navy?
Yeah, I'm kind of afraid to ask the question because I don't want the long answer. I'm almost about to renege on it, but I don't know. But my question was, is this the kind of process that they mimic after the civil service merit increases? Because that was actually done. Did we try to adopt the same process? Yeah. Okay, because I worked for 18 years, you know, in civil service, so I know we had merit increases. You're going to give me my merit increase, I'm telling you. But I just want to ask the question. Don't put your mic on, please.
And of course, the whole goal in this is to retain employees. Do we have a motion to approve this? We just closed public hearing.
Mr. Harding got something to say.
Oh, Mr. Harding.
Yes, I move that we accept this, this particular presentation with the exception of the maximum of lead time to be extended from 24 to 30.
Second that motion.
Hold on.
Clarification.
Go ahead.
One
have a
clarification. So the 21 years is at 24. You want to change it to year 25, start doing 30 days?
To
Or you
max out
want
at 30
year
days.
21
And the
to be
increments
30?
and the increments that we were doing right now, it should equal out to 30 days.
At year 21.
21.
So you want us to change the days throughout the year so that the max is 30?
Right.
Okay, well, we have a motion. First of all, just to state, we have a motion by Mr. Carl Harding to approve the plan with the exception of taking the 24 days and making it 30. And we have a second by Mr. Dirk Guidry on that. And we have a light by Mr. Babin.
Yes, because so many things were said, okay? Was there something else that you mentioned that we may be able to come back later to do, or is that the same item that Mr. Harding was speaking of? Because if there's something else that needs to be tweaked, I'd like that in the motion.
Coming back was for the retirees and life insurance, and that's going to be a little bit more research. And that's not going to affect the implementation of the policy if we amend
That's
it.
fine, as long as we have the ability to come back
Yes,
and
sir.
address that within this motion.
Yes,
okay?
sir.
Thank you, Mr. Babin. Mr. Dirk Guidry.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Harding, for making that motion. Listen, you know, we need to try to retain these public employees that work for us, you know. I mean, we getting people with knowledge that we teach them how to run an excavator, we teach them how to do this, and we teach them how to do that, and then after 4 or 5 years, there's no incentive for them to really stay for Terrebonne Parish because we got private industry out there luring everybody. They hanging this carrot in front of everybody's face. Now that the parish trained you and you know what you're doing, come to us, you know what I mean? And that's our expense. So we need to do whatever we can, and I don't think this is far enough. I really think that the parish employees need to be paid more money per hour, you know what I mean? I don't know what it would take. I mean, right now in this year, we've made a lot of money with sales taxes, and we kind of flush with cash a little bit. But I don't know what the future would bring, but there has to be a way that we can bring up the salaries of these employees because we need to keep them. They're going to other places, people, and for us to have a great parish, we need to keep our employees. I mean, the parish is only as good as their employees. And if we got to keep changing these employees every 4 or 5 years, we're not getting ahead anywhere. So, Mr. Harding, thanks for doing this for that 30 days. I think they really deserve a lot more, not only in more time off, but in salaries. You know what I mean? We could give them time off, but let me tell you, at the end of the month, inflation is 8-point-something% this year so far. What they got a pay cut? What they got? 2% raise? You know what I mean? Everybody got a 2% raise, so they 6% down. The average family right now, in this modern age that we have right now, is costing a family $5,400 more a year to survive. So they've taken staying with the parish, they're taking a pay cut by keeping up with this economy that we're in right now. So whatever we can do, Candace, I don't know how we could ever find the money, if we got to bump everybody else to do what we got to do. But we need to find a way to keep these parish employees. Because if we want a great Terrebonne Parish, we need to have great parish employees. And the only way to do it is to give them more money because, like I said, somebody's out there dangling the carrot. Now that you trained, come to me. So thank you all. Mr. Harding, again, thank you for doing that. I appreciate it, and I'm pretty sure that all these parish employees appreciate it. Thank you.
And thank you, Mr. Guidry, and I agree, the increase, it was actually a 4%, but it still wasn't enough because, you know, inflation, I think, was 8.5% last month. Mr. Trosclair.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Carly, I just want to, when you were talking about your motion, I understood, maybe I understood wrong, but I just want to be clear. I support whatever, you know, however it works out. But I thought you had said that right now it's 24 days after 21 years. And I thought you had said like 23 years, you would get 3 more days.
24, then 3 years.
Or
after
24,
that.
at 24 years, you would get 27 days. And
Right.
at 30 years, you would get 30 days.
Right.
So you extended the years to accumulate more time. Now, am I correct?
Right.
Is that what you said?
Right.
Okay, that's not the way the motion's read right now.
Okay.
So I just want to make sure you get what you
yeah,
asked for.
That's exactly what I want because they're going in three
3-year
increments of threes, and so it would add up after that 21 to
So
30.
it should read that after 24 years, you would get 27 days. After 30 years, you would get 30 days.
30 days, yes.
Okay?
Yeah, that's
So
better than
you
maxing
want to
out at
amend
20.
your motion to read that.
I want to amend the motion, read that, and Dirk second it.
And I asked for a unanimous second on that.
Does everybody understand the motion?
I think you need to read the motion, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Would you explain the language for me exactly so I
Yes,
can
sir.
repeat
So
that?
I believe what we're gonna say is, so right now we have 21 years or more, you're at 24 days. We're gonna amend that to add at year 23, we're gonna have 24, you're gonna have 27 days. And then at 30 or more, you're gonna have 30 days. So we're just extending the continuous service, the years.
Okay. Now, does everybody understand?
Yes.
Okay, we have had a call for a unanimous second. We have a motion by Mr. Carl Harding. Anybody opposed, all in favor of the unanimous second, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed to unanimous second? So motion approves with a unanimous second. That ordinance is approved with those changes. Moving on to D.
Mr. Chairman, if I could just say one thing just
Go
for
ahead.
our employees to know. So first, I'd like to thank y'all on behalf of the committee. The time that we put into this, we really thought it was a good policy. On behalf of the employees, we'd like to thank you. And just so that the employees know, this new policy will go into effect May 1st. So their first paycheck, which I think will be either May 3rd or May 4th, will reflect the new seniority pay, will reflect the new annual leave, and all of that as well. So there will all be in place come May 1st.
Awesome. Thank you, Mr. Navy.
Just one question to add to that. Well, nothing as far as voting, but look, we're about to get into a budget in the next couple of months. Maybe we need to look at this thing and review it, okay? With the salary, the pay raise and all this kind of stuff. Because like you said, we're about to get a lot of money. We got, sales taxes up. We're about to get a lot of infrastructure money. We're about to get a lot of things that's gonna bring this parish to be a wealthy, very wealthy parish. So we need to take care of employees. So maybe we need to look at that.
Hey, Mr. Navy, we've been crying for a study. Tell me, how is that so we can see where our scales are?
So we are on Mr. Dove and I have met several times on this.
Okay.
We are working on something for our salary plans. It's just a lot. I'm hoping within the next 2 months, we'll have a new something to present to you as far as helping out the employees.
Could you come up with like a little, program, a little PowerPoint or something to
Right.
present? So
What
we
we're
can have
trying
options, so-
what we're trying to do is take our current plan that we have in place and do an adjustment to the plan. Because like you said, the inflation, we have done some cost of living increases. The plan hasn't always reflected that increase. So we're working on it. I'm hoping to have that plan to you before budget even starts.
That's great, because nothing costs the same anymore, for some reason. I don't know what's going on, but nothing
Yes,
costs the
sir.
same.
And we're talking, I just want to make sure we all know, we're talking about all this money coming in. Sales tax are reoccurring, so that's a good thing. But this money that's coming in, that's going to be one-time money, and that's going to be for repairs and maintenance. So we can't use that specifically for raises. But we are working on something
But
to
that's
present
still
to
going
you.
to bring more revenue to the parish.
Correct.
Okay? And that's why we
Correct.
need to look at if we're going to get this revenue for the parish. We done everything else. Now let's take care of the people.
Yes, sir. So this was our first part of the plan, and we will present y'all the second part as soon as we have something
Thank
together.
you. Appreciate that.
Mr. Guidry.
Hey, John, by giving these people a raise, it saves the parish money because you don't have to keep training and retraining. So in the long run, you're spending a little bit more, but you're saving more, So whatever we got to do to keep our employees happy and keep them in Terrebonne Parish, because we have a great retirement plan. We gave them a great leave plan, you know what I mean? We increased that, and we just got to keep giving these people incentive to say, man, look, I want to work for Terrebonne Parish. So whatever we got to do that, and I hope Candace can come and find the money. I know it's got to be reoccurring monies, but whatever we got to do to keep these employees, we need to do it, Candace. So thank you. Sharpen your pencil sharp, baby.
Mr. Babin.
Yeah, I was just gonna say the exact same thing. We're doing 2 out of the 3, so we wanna make sure we do. I mean, the retirement is there, the benefits are there. We wanna make sure the salary's there, because that's what keeps people. And I just wanted, I know Candace is so much more than me, but we always talk about recurring revenue, okay? And sales tax is a recurring revenue, but right now, it's an artificial increase, all right? Because of the storm, we're seeing a big boost because there's so many supplies being bought. So I know that when you work on that, you factor that in, all right? So just because we might have made $10 million more for the first quarter, that doesn't necessarily mean that next year we're gonna have that same $10 million. So it's factored in. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Babin. Moving along to D, an ordinance to authorize the lease of property at 7842 Main Street at the corner of Main Church and Belanger Street, Houma, Louisiana 70360, parcel number 19175, from property owners. Authorize the parish president to execute any and all documents necessary to lease this property and to provide for other related matters relative thereto. Public once, public twice, third time public. Motion to close, Mrs. Dirk Guidry, seconded by Mr. Steve Trosclair. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Motion to adopt, Mr. Dirk Guidry, seconded Mr. Steve Trosclair. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Ordinance is approved. Item E, an ordinance to supplement ordinance number 9199 to authorize the acquisition of property and/or sites and/or servitudes required for the Bayou Terrebonne Drainage Improvement Project by boundary agreements and/or lot line adjustments and/or exchange property, to authorize the parish president to execute any and all documents necessary to acquire property and/or sites and/or servitudes for said purpose by said means, to provide for other related matters relative thereto. Public once, public twice, third time public.
Motion to close.
Motion to close, Ms. Jessica Domingue. Second, Mr. Carl Harding. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed?
Motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt, Ms. Jessica Domingue. Second, Mr. Carl Harding. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Motion to go back in regular order, Mr. Dirk Guidry, seconded by Mr. Steve Trosclair. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? We'll go back into regular order. I think we were on H, discussion and possible action relative to the release of Recreation District Number 11 from parish oversight. Mr. Carl Harding.
Yes, I would like to call Mr. Larry Ward up to,
Good evening, gentlemen and Ms. Domingue. I'm Larry Ward. I'm a lawyer. I represent Terrebonne Parish Recreation District 11. The purpose of why I'm here is the Board of Recreation District 11 has requested, and I'll say respectfully requested, I'll emphasize that respectfully, that this council please remove the oversight ordinance which has been operating over Recreation District 11 since 2017.
Now, Mr. Ward, I think you're saying, are you asking that Rec 11 be removed from the full oversight component of the ordinance, or not to remove the whole oversight ordinance?
Remove the full ordinance off of Rec 11. That was what the
Okay,
board-
which is a part of the ordinance which puts Rec 11 into what we call full oversight. And so that's the piece that you are requesting. I'm just trying to
Yes, sir,
clarify.
full oversight, to get rid of the oversight completely off of recreation.
Or the full oversight, because we still have oversight on all rec districts.
Oh, no, just, yeah, just what,
Okay.
just what we're
I
on.
thought that's what you wanted.
We're
I
the
just
only
wanted.
dis- No, sir.
Okay, just wanted to be clarified for that.
Yeah.
We understand now.
Okay.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
All right, and before I'm gonna start, I'm gonna be very short, because just recognize Mr. Ronald Rainey, he is our chairman, he is here, and Ms. Misty Ruffin, our vice chair, is here, and Mr. Amos Mosley, our manager, is also here in the audience. I deciphered, I hope everybody got this packet to you all. I'm not gonna read it, I just go over the highlights. Specifically, we have been under, when I say we, Recreation District 11, has been under the oversight ordinance since October of 2017, when the council basically adopted it. I included in the packet our latest financial. We actually had a meeting last night. Ms. Sonia Labat is our accountant. Unfortunately, she had another engagement with another meeting, but she included in our packet our latest financials, and I'm just gonna mention so the council will know that Recreation District 11 presently has in their checking and investment account $2,902,752.81. That's what is in our accounts as of this time. I've also included in the packet Mr. Dan Tepper. He works for Bourgeois and Bennett. He does our annual audits. I had and requested him to provide us with summary letters of our audits from 2018, 19, and 20. Those are also in the packet. Mr. Tepper, unfortunately, he was gonna come, but he's on vacation in South Carolina, so he's unable to do it. But he did tell me to let the council know that there was no findings of any theft, waste, or abuse was found, and no unusual findings were found in the particular audit that's required by the state of Louisiana. Real quickly, I'm gonna go and let the council know what exactly is our obligation, specifically the Mechanicville Gym Renovations, and it is a beautiful building. I don't know if any of you had a chance to go out there, but it was something that needed to be done, and it came out really nice. The district originally took out a $2.5 million principal obligation for that bond for the Mechanicville renovations, and the interest was $305,327. So the total obligation the district has to pay back that indebtedness is $2,805,317. Presently, at this time, the district has repaid $1,383,000 toward that obligation, and also the district currently now owes, as a result of that, a principal payment of $1,320,000 and an interest payment of $101,525. The bond obligation, there is a schedule in there of the indebtedness and our payments. We have to pay interest, basically, I think semi-annually, twice a year, and a principal obligation, usually once a year, of approximately $350,000. So our debt obligation will end in March 1st of 2026. We'll be completely out of that obligation. To be quite honest, that money, we kind of spent our capital improvements money, whatever we would have been able to spend beforehand, because it's like $350,000, $360,000 every year that comes off the top that we have to pay this debt off of. So the remaining of our monies we get from ad valorem taxes or property taxes, specifically about $1.3 million a year. We use that money to basically do all our maintenance, repairs, and keep up with the 3 gyms, and needless to say, all of our facilities. Rec 11 is the biggest rec district, as we all know. We have a tremendous amount of parks. We have a swimming pool. We have 2 swimming pools. We have 3 gyms. And it's not something it's broad throughout the parish. So the purpose and the reason I'm here is I looked at the ordinance, and Mr. Hamidi actually brought this to my attention at a conversation we had at the DA's office, and I thank him for that, is that in section 2192, it requires that the parish council revisit every 6 months the need for the district to be placed under the oversight ordinance. And that's why I'm asking the district to take a look at it, the council to take a look at it this time, to remove us from operating under this particular oversight ordinance under 2192. Mr. Mosley's here. If any questions, I don't have anything to do with the everyday, I'm sorry, Mr. Navy?
No, I'm just saying, speak my light on.
Oh,
Okay.
And
All right.
I don't have anything to do with the everyday operations of Rec 11. Mr. Mosley is here. If you all have any questions as to that aspect of it.
I would like for Mr. Mosley to come up.
I think Mr. Navy has something for Mr. Ward, so go ahead, Mr. Navy.
No, not for Mr. Ward.
Oh.
Mr. Ronald Rainey. So,
Oh.
Mr. Rainey, I'm gonna talk to the chairman of the council. I got some issues. Mr. Rainey, a couple of things I want to bring out. You all have adopted some parks that was given to you all years ago. Did you ever get back with the council to try to see that the parish need to retain those parks back?
Well, we're going to get back with the council to retain some of those parks back. We're going to go back and see which ones they gave us so we can give back to the council. And other things, the council wanted to give us, like the splash park. They wanted to put that on us, but we didn't want to take that obligation, that responsibility of keeping that park up. There'd be more revenue out of our budget for that, so we let the parish keep that.
Okay, and you know, and the reason why I'm saying this is because some of that could be some revenues that can go towards your operations. Another thing is the gym. I had some calls about the sign that the sign to the sign that's put on the building. It was incorrect spelling of the person's name. That was ever corrected, by the way? I'm
Yes,
sorry.
sir, it was corrected. When it was first put up there, they misspelled the last name.
Okay, okay.
But I called it and made a phone call and had it corrected.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that. Also, a couple of months ago, the chamber, well, not the chamber, some individual came up and said that you all was bankrupt because of the $2.5 million. So I'm glad you made some clarity to that, because I know you all wasn't bankrupt because of that.
No,
Okay.
no, we not even in a raid because of that.
Okay, because that was some concerns I had when that comment was made, and I asked Ken, I said, Ken, is they bankruptcy? You know, what's going on with that? So I guess that was a slab at me because we actually proved that. But I'm just was concerned about some things with that. I was the one that wanted the oversight for a lot of reasons, and you all knew the reasons.
Correct.
I'm trying to swallow that right now to take it off oversight, but you'll still be under full oversight anyway from the state, the statute, the way it is set up.
Every board will be.
But I just
Still
want, you know,
some
so
type of
I had some
oversight.
concerns, and I'm gonna support it, because, you know, like I said, I did a lot of things back there. I mean, you all was very gracious to give a portion of your funding when we got that match money from the state to do the community center. Norby Charbert and Gardy Dove, they were state reps, you know, they actually helped, and he was state senator. They actually helped us to get that money to build that community center. So you all put a portion of that up, and then you did this bond, and we supported that, so I appreciate that. But I just wanted to make some clarity on some things, and I was just concerned about a few things. But the park situation, I know that was put on you all, I don't know, about 10 or 15 years or more. Now, I think it was under the Claudia administration. So I was hoping that we could revisit that, and I didn't understand why those parks were given to you all back then to cover those responsibilities. So I would hope that the parish would take those parks. I think they do a lot of grass cutting and things like that.
Correct.
Okay.
That's one of our biggest obligations right now, the grass cutting.
Okay, and I think that would help Rec District 11. Now, and some reason, the people need to understand Rec District 11 covers a high portion of our district. My district, in fact, the main ones are my district, Jessica's and Dirk. And then the rest of the council members cover. So that's a large mass of properties that we actually cover. But I just wanted to make some clarity on some things. I support it. I'll be honest with you. I'm swallowing deep. But I just hope that you get some things together with that stuff too. A lot of things that needs to be addressed with the District 11 though. And
Yes.
I trust that you will, Mr. Rain. I really do.
Yes.
Okay.
We are on the top of a lot of things that, need to be addressed, that been addressed, not
Okay.
need to be, but been addressed.
Okay.
We have everything in order.
Well, I'm gonna swallow and support it tonight, okay?
I appreciate it.
All right.
Any more questions for her?
Ms. Domingue.
Yes, and it's so good to see you guys here tonight. We've been trying to get you guys on our agenda for some time, and so I'm glad you're here. First, I want to commend you guys for the hiring of Mr. Amos Mosley. I have seen such a turnaround just since that hire. I mean, Mr. Amos, you're in the back right now, but every time I call you, any issue we have, you're on it. So absolutely, guys, great job. That was a fantastic hire, and we definitely look forward to looking to working with you. As far as oversight, the policy and procedure manual that we're working on and should be completed very soon. All districts are going to be under the same policy and procedure manual, and so I certainly hope that you guys have had the opportunity to look over that and to look over that with your board, because it is basically for every single one of the rec districts, not just Rec 11, not just 2, 3, but all the rec districts are going to be operating under that same policy and procedure manual. And once we have that fully completed, we are going to give that to you guys. Part of, recreation prior to the hurricane was a really, hot button topic. It was something that we were working very passionately on. And the hurricane kind of sidelined us a little bit. But part of their final presentation was a path forward for Rec 11. And so if we could go back and revisit some of that, they had some really good suggestions of ways that we could get Rec 11 to the next level. And so if you guys remember some of those aspects, and part of that was maybe giving some of those parks back, and some other ways that we can get you guys into a better financial situation. And so if we could revisit that, I think that was really beneficial for you guys. The other thing I have a question about is the air base. Part of the conversations, and this was prior to the hurricane, but part of the conversation was the parish taking over the air base, very similarly to what we did with Bayou Country Sportsplex with Rec 2-3. And then, of course, we were in those conversations and the hurricane happened, and so everybody's attention was directed somewhere else. So is that something that's ever been revisited? Is it something that we ever talked about again?
No, basically, the air base, basically the parish already have the air base. The only thing Rec 11 have on the air base is the playground equipment. That's it.
And the baseball.
And the baseball fields. But the parish have the rest, the air base belongs to the parish already.
Okay, Jules, can you maybe clarify that a little bit more regarding the air base?
The parish owns the air base property. We were looking at some things, but it got put on hold, but between COVID and the hurricane, I guess Dirk had brought it up and had asked me to
Do an abstract and all.
yeah, we did that, and we started, and it just got put to the side, but I need to get back on it. I know we were talking about, Dirk, to be honest, it's been a while.
Well, part of the plan was the adaptive park. We've got some really beautiful plans for that adaptive park already drawn. Stevie Smith's firm actually did those plans, and so we have those plans. They're completed. it's just to kind of get back to that. I know there was a pretty hefty price tag on that. It's about $1 million. But that was part of our path forward.
As I recall, what the issues were is exactly, because of time and administrations, and either not recorded or recorded, and nobody keeping up with it, the question comes down to is, what do the districts, over years, there were intergovernmental agreements done where rec districts have taken over some of the property, and that's what we were looking at. And in coming up, what was not, pulling some of that out, because we were looking at the softball complex. I believe that, and now it's coming back.
Okay. All right, thank you, Jules. If we could maybe start looking at that again. Thanks. That was part of my wish list for funding, and so great. And my last question is, I never receive notifications of you guys' meetings. For some reason, I receive everybody else's notifications. So can you guys make sure that I'm on your email list? Because for some reason, I just don't get those notifications.
Well, I can take care of that.
All right, thanks. I appreciate it. Anyway, great job, guys.
Mr. Harding?
Yes, thank you, Larry. Mr. Rainey, you're the chairman of Rec 11.
Correct.
And I've been on the board for a number of years.
Correct.
I know you guys see my face sometimes, you know, man, even your employees hate seeing me sometimes because I'm rather adamant about the situation that we're in right now. And Mr. Ward made mention of the revisiting. We spoke about this, and I've been here a couple of years. I served on the board, and I have a passion for it. Can you give us of your 5-year plan from where you are right now, the meetings that you've had? We've already said that you're solid. You've been in the black. The accountant giving you approval. There are some circumstances. I think something was mentioned about polls or something like that, and I think y'all taking care of that, and it was being taken care of at the time. So that I got the message of that. But could you say something that the position that you're in right now?
Well, the 5-year plan before the storm was to, okay, we can pay off the bond and get that done. We're not getting in too many big capital outlets right now. We, mostly maintenance, mostly keeping our employees, because we had some employees, some got sick, some quit because of the pay. And they was good employees. But right now we're focusing on getting these parks back together, these playgrounds back together as of now because of the storm. We've been so busy. I've been so busy because I done worked in your district, putting up lights, poles, his district. I met him out there, dirt. That gentleman I had put up lights for him. So I've been so busy at work. I mean, work closed now. I was on outage. I had to run over here for this. But the plan is to get all the parks up to par, and in that 5-year plan was to get with the parish to give some of these parks back that we cannot afford, because you're giving us more things, but you're not giving us more revenue to run this, okay? So that's why we didn't take on the splash park, because they was giving us the splash park, but they wasn't giving us the funds to run the splash park. So we couldn't hire an employee to be out there on weekends or in the evenings to turn the water on and off. That's why we didn't take it. But like I say, right now we're just doing mostly maintenance to keep all our parks up to par right now.
The other thing of concern is the fact that because of the hurricane, and there were some damages to your facilities and things like that, what position are y'all in reference to recovering with your insurance? What areas, FEMA, what's y'all status with that?
Well, right now we have a firm out looking at the damages to the buildings and the parks right now.
Mm-hmm.
But most of our buildings are through our facilities, the gyms. Most, it's 100%, all our buildings. But we focusing right now on the playgrounds, getting all the damages and everything together for the parks, all the baseball fields, the poles, the dugouts, the bleachers, getting all the figures for that. Then we have to get with the parish to see what what's insured and what's not insured. Because for what I understand, some of the parks we have wasn't insured.
So we're working on that. And
working on
Candace, the position that you're in, you guys have been working together, and so everything's cool? All right. I do like some of the other people said, let the record show she shook her head, yes. Well, after Mr. Dirk Guidry and Mr. Daniel Babin, I want to introduce something else in reference to a motion and what we're talking about.
All right, Mr. Dirk Guidry?
Mr. Rainey, you guys come a long ways. And I know Mr. Babin and Mr. Navy weren't here our first 4 years, and there was nobody harder on Rec 11 than Dirk Guidry, because there was a lot of things that wasn't kosher back in the day. But let me tell you, you guys have come a long way. We've not heard a peep of bad things coming from Rec 11. You guys are doing a good job. I've heard a lot of good things about Amos, doing a great job, Amos. Thank you a lot for doing what you do. You know, and it's the same question I was going to ask of Candace. Is there any reason that we should not take them out of this oversight, you know? Because I think they've done a great job, and they continue to do a great job. So if you could ask that question real fast, and then I'll address something to Mr.
Go ahead, Ms. Candace.
So to answer Mr. Harding and you, Mr. Guidry, no, I don't see there being any reason to not take them out of the oversight.
All right, Mr. Harding, whenever you're ready to make that motion, I would love to second that motion. And Jules, I think the thing that we were looking at when I had addressed it with you was really to find out what was the boundaries of the airbase. You were doing abstracts on there to try to find out exactly, because throughout all these years, this one had it, that one had it, so you were looking at abstracts to find out exactly what we got. And what I think we need to do is we need to get the whole airbase and take it all, and especially like the splash park. I know you guys got a lot of money that y'all got to do to take care of these other parks.
Correct.
It was myself and Mr. John Navy's idea to do this splash park. It wasn't Rec 11's idea to do it, so there should be no reason that we should throw this financial burden on you guys. The parish should accept that, and we should take care of that. So thank you guys for doing what y'all doing. Y'all doing a great job. Amos, keep it up. And your whole board, I commend your whole board for doing what they're doing. So thank y'all, and I'd really love to be able to want to second it, Mr. Harding, when you made that motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Guidry. Mr. Babin?
Yeah, I want to echo what Mr. Guidry just said. Back when I was on the council before our first term, we were very, very hard on y'all, okay? Because it needed to be perfectly at that time, okay? But I echo the same thing. Y'all have come a long, long way. But I don't want to speak to something that Mr. Navy said, that someone got up to that platform one night and said that y'all were bankrupt. It's easy to get up there and say things, okay, that you don't have any basis to back it up.
Yeah.
Just simple accounting, I heard tonight that your assets far exceed your liabilities. So in essence, you got 2.3 sitting here and you owe 1.4, you could pay off that bond, all right? I know there's other things. I'm being very simplistic about this, okay? But the point I'm trying to make is your assets do exceed your liabilities, okay? And that's why this ought to be oversight. Thank you.
Mr. Navy?
And just one last thing, Mr. Rainey, and I don't know how many employees you have, but look, I'm offering any kind of assistance and help I can do to conversate with them or talk with them about things that are going. I think I want to be more involved with that process of it. So if you could pass it on to your employees over there, if they want to conversate to me about anything or what's going on or how the parish operate things, I'll be willing to talk with them. I really want to talk to your employees about a lot of stuff, please.
Will do.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it.
Okay, Mr. Harding?
Yes, I would like to make the motion that this council remove Rec 11 from section 21 through 92 off oversight.
Okay, so we have a motion from Mr. Carl Harding to remove Rec 11 from section 21-92 oversight. That's seconded by Mr. Dirk Guidry. And just to inform the public, we have an oversight ordinance. We oversee all rec districts, but there is a section to where we can take certain rec districts and actually have oversight to where we approve payroll, we approve individual items, and Rec 11 is the only rec district currently left in that, and this would remove them from that, just clarification. We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you very much, Mr. Rainey. Y'all have done a great job.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Mr. Gilman.
All right, moving along. Item I, resolution authorizing the president to amend the original agreement with Baroque and Benura Engineers and Consultants LLC, BBEC, for application development, project management, and related services for the HMGP Hurricane Ida grant programs for government facilities, infrastructure, drainage, or coastal projects. Do we have a motion? Moved by Mr. Steve Trosclair. Seconded by Mr. Carl Harding. We have a question, Mr. Dirk Gidry.
Is there anybody here from Baroque and Bonura or whatever it is? Nobody's here from them? Okay. Can you find out information for me about these government facilities and all, like my rec district swimming pool and my recreation district that is total lost? Is there any way that these guys are the ones that's in charge of trying to get monies for this?
So the way that it usually works, Mr. Guidry, is the rec districts are responsible for that. We have Royal Engineering that's already on contract. They're working with some of our facilities. I'll have them reach out to those rec districts and see what we can do to help them.
I mean,
they should have most of the rec districts went and either have All South or the Salsa Group helping with their FEMA claims. So we'll reach out and see if there's anything and additional work that we can do to help them.
Okay, thank you.
We have a motion and a second to approve the resolution. Any more discussion? All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Resolution passes. Item J, resolution ratifying the appointment of the firm All South Engineers LLC to provide professional services for Valhalla Hollywood Roundabout and authorizing the execution of an agreement for these services. Moved by Ms. Jessica Domain, seconded by Mr. John Amity. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Item K, a resolution ratifying the appointment of the engineering firm of GIS Engineers LLC to provide engineering services for electric generation and distribution system loss or damage from Hurricane Ida. Moved by Mr. Dirk Gidry, seconded by Mr. Steve Trosclair. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Resolution passes. Item L, resolution concurring with the parish administration approving the ordering of AV upgrade equipment from Crescent Multimedia Solutions through the Louisiana State Contract number 4400023147. Moved by Ms. Jessica Domain, seconded by Mr. John Amity. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Resolution passes. Public wishing to address the council. Mr. Johnny Smith wishes to address the council to discuss a veterans program that he and his group are putting on to honor veterans for the month of May. We may have lost some of our public. Would you contact Mr. Smith if you have his contact, and apologize for the long, and see if he would like to be on our next agenda. Dr. Zach Lee wishes to address the council relative to oyster industry development. Mr. Lee, go ahead and state your name and address for the record, and you have 3 minutes. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm Zach Lee, 1500 South Jackson Street in Covington, Louisiana. I'm here to advocate for the full development of your oyster industry. I believe that you can best do this by combining that development with the development of your storm protection plan, combining storm protection with the development of the oyster industry. Specifically, down in the details, I would like to ask you to reduce the coastal use permit fees that are being charged for new oyster farms here in the parish. That fee should be reduced as small as possible to encourage the oyster people to install oyster farms. If I can read this perhaps in 3 minutes, I'll try my best.
Go ahead. Read fast.
Okay. I think our current policy in the state of Louisiana is destroying the oyster industry, and it's wasting the vast amount of productive resource that we have, you have. And by the way, I think you're getting only a fraction of the value that you should be getting out of this industry in terms of revenue, taxes, help with the tourist industry, with the other fishing industries. So again, I encourage you to combine storm protection with the development of your oyster production resources. The oyster is a keystone species of the coastal water bottoms. When the oyster flourishes, so do the crabs, the shrimp, and the speckled trout. When the speckled trout flourish, the sports fishing industry flourishes. When the oyster fishery flourishes, local and out-of-town tourists are attracted to Terrebonne Parish to catch the fish, to savor the seafood, and to enjoy the local culture. When oysters are edible, raw, it means that the waters that they're grown in are clean enough to drink. When the oyster flourishes, so does Terrebonne Parish flourish. If we let this industry die, we're wasting the greatest renewable, ecologically sound, and manageable resource on the Gulf of Mexico, the northern Gulf of Mexico. I'm going to give you some extraordinary figures to help you understand the potential that you have. You can dismiss these figures as crazy, or you can use them to rally the effort to build the industry, to save the resource and the coastal culture built around it. An acre of well-managed oyster lease produces 200 sacks of oysters per year. The parish has 96,458 leased acres. That's from the Wildlife and Fisheries Department. If all of those acres produced 200 sacks of oysters per year, the parish would be producing 10 times the amount of oysters that are produced by the total state. We have that kind of resource here. It's not being developed well enough. Sorry.
I want to say we have a motion to extend, Mr. Dirk Guidry, seconded by Mr. Danny Babin. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Go ahead.
Thank you. Terrebonne is not producing at the optimal rate because the oyster industry is a partnership between the private sector and the state. And the state, we the people, are not doing our share. We're not managing the resource for optimal oyster growth. We have allowed the marshes and the lands protecting the oyster resource to be destroyed. And if we were focused on maximizing return to our resources, we would build storm protection structures across the coastal zone that also protect the oyster industry and assure the salinity required for maximal oyster production. Think of our investment as an irrigation system watering a vast agricultural area. We, the people, provide the water, and the private sector grows the oysters. Terrebonne Parish can begin, this is a specific thing I'd like you to think about doing. We can begin by supporting the Coastal Protection and Resource Authorities and the Wildlife and Fisheries Authorities' effort to encourage a new style of oyster production in the parish. That's called alternative oyster culture. And these practices are important because they can be used on underutilized portions of leases in the parish. People that have leases may only be using 10 or 20% of the water bottom because most of it is too soft to spread oyster shell and do traditional oyster production. The new techniques can be used on soft bottom. And so we can bring this vast underutilized resource into productivity. The oyster farmer's control over the whole farming process from seed to market is greatly increased and risk to loss is greatly reduced. Using funds from CPRA and Louisiana Department of Wildlife and Fisheries, LSU Sea Grant is awarding grants to help oyster farmers establish these new style of oyster farms. To set up one of these farms, of course, we need a cultural use permit. And we get that, of course, from the parish. The parish could encourage these new farms by reducing the fees it charges for coastal use permits relating to these new farms. The reduction might mean only $500 or $5,000 for a particular farmer, but the reduction will signal Terrebonne Parish's support of the oyster industry out of this new aspect. I encourage you to consider that reduction in the CUP fees. Thank you very much.
Hang on one second. We have a light, Mr. Dirk Guidry.
Dr. Lee, thank you for bringing that up to everybody. I think we need to do whatever we can do to increase the oyster production in Terrebonne Parish. Since the BP oil spill, hurricanes, and overfishing, our oyster industry has taken a big hit over the last couple of years. I know we've had a lot of people from out of town coming the last few years. I live down the bayou, and they are coming and overfishing these fishing grounds, and they're not taking care of oyster leases like people used to after they had an oyster lease. When they had one, you'd come back and you'd rework your oyster leases. These people are coming down here, they're taking our oysters, and they're just leaving, you know? So we need to do whatever we can do, because there's not a lot of oyster production being left in Terrebonne Parish. There's a lot of water bottoms left, and whatever we can do. Now, you guys don't, when y'all do these things, y'all don't mess up the coast. Y'all do this underwater. And there's a lot of, I've seen a lot of people that have come and produced oysters in cages or off of Grand Isle, and they've done a lot of things. But when you get a hurricane, it comes and it destroys it. But this thing that, whatever y'all got that looks like this right here, it looks like it could withstand a hurricane, you know?
Does.
So, I mean, this looks real good, because the other way they had these cages tied to sticks. You get a 25-foot wave come over, it's gone. But it looks like this is mounted down to the cement slab, and it looks like it would work. But whatever we got to do to keep the oyster industry in Terrebonne Parish, that's a great and economic resource to Terrebonne Parish, and it's a lot of work. I mean, I wouldn't want to be an oyster fisherman because it's a lot of work, but keep it up, because I think whatever we can do to drop you guys with this coastal permits, we need to try to get done, because, like I said, you guys are not coming in here, you're not messing up the marshes. What you're doing is at the bottoms, you know?
Right.
So whatever I can do to help you, give me a holler.
Appreciate
So
it.
thank you a lot.
Thank you, Mr. Guidry. Mr. Harding.
Yeah, the months that have the R's in it. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Fish every month.
You fish every month now?
Refrigeration.
Yeah, okay, yeah. But the key part to that, because I was associated with people within the area in Pointe-au-Chien that were oyster fishermen, and then it is hard work. But the most important thing about that, if we look at our coast and our environment, if we have the opportunity to grow oysters, that means we have a cleaner environment. So I think with being able to look at it that way, if we are able to grow oysters, we're doing a great job as human beings in taking care of our coast and our environment. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Babin.
Dr. Lee, thank you for your presentation. I've been in the seafood business for about 37 years now, and actually served under 2 governors on the State Wildlife and Fisheries Commission, so I applaud your work. People forget in this parish, we've done a fabulous job with our levee system. Yes. But they forget that it has changed the total hydrology of the system here. We have, in the shrimp side, we have waters. Robinson Canal is a beautiful example. It used to flow one way, now it flows another way. But we're protecting the people of this parish. But we also have to protect our industry, because all of the seafood industry in Terrebonne Parish and in the state of Louisiana is on the decline. And we can't afford that, you know, and I applaud your efforts, and I agree with Mr. Guidry. If there's something that, we're not talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars here, all right? Because you're only talking about a few oyster companies coming in. So it's not gonna be a financial burden for Terrebonne Parish if we lower these fees. So again, thank you very much for coming in your presentation.
The major thing I think is that we need to protect offshore
Sure.
as much as we do onshore. And Terrebonne Parish has done an amazing job with protecting its onshore. We just need to move offshore a little bit more and put some of those levees out there. That will protect our onshore levees and to help develop the oyster industry.
Well, we have no passes anymore. In years past, you had Whiskey Pass, you had Cat Island Pass, and they were small. Now, the Gulf of Mexico, I mean, it just flows back and forth, all right? So, yeah, we need to protect our barrier islands to get things going. So, in any event, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Lee, and thank you for staying
Thank
through our
you.
meeting. If the council doesn't mind, I'll revisit Mr. Johnny Smith, who is here, who wishes to address the council to discuss the veterans program that he and his group are putting together to honor veterans in the month of May. Go ahead, if you don't mind stating your name and address just for the record.
My name is Johnny Smith. I'm the Chief Advocate for American Veterans Advocacy and Vets United. I want to thank Ms. Ms. Dubier for inviting me here. I live in Thibodaux, Louisiana. My organization is stationed here in Houma. I'm partnered with the Terrebonne Parish Library, and I've been there for 5 years now. What we want to do is bring out Vets United. Vets United is an organization of my organization, American Veterans Advocacy, that do a health care program and community awareness program. But what we like to coin is to make the whole month of May Veterans Month. We want to make this a national month for all veterans, the living veterans. We already have a Memorial Day, right? So what we want to do is bring awareness to all living veterans. So what we started with was in March 19th, we coined it Super Senior Veterans Day. That day was for 98, 94-year-old veterans, and those World War II veterans. So we gave them an honor that day. So April 23rd, we're going to have senior veterans. That's me. I'm a Vietnam veteran and a Korean veteran. We're going to honor them April 23rd. So going into May, what we want to do is honor all our veterans and make that whole month from the 1st all the way to the 28th of May, make that an awareness for veterans and their family. Because without the family, the veteran is left alone. Because once he leaves the service, his comrade becomes his family. So we have to put the family in the same packet with the veteran. We won't just say the veteran, it's going to be veterans and their family. That's what Vets United is all about. This is Vets United. I'm the veteran, you're my family. I have to include you in the program. So that's what we want to do nationally, but we want to do it first here. So I was invited to come here and talk to you, so you can come see me at the library on the 23rd. I'm quite sure you'll be there. I'm going to be on HTV on the 19th, and I'm going to say the same thing. But I'm looking for the support from the parish. I also work with Tim Soignier. We did Ricky Frost. Anybody know Ricky Frost? He did 3,700 miles bike ride last April. Me and Tim Soignier, we coordinated that whole event. So out of his event, he has an organization. It's called After the Mission. On May 28th, we hope to do a family and veterans program at the park, at the Veterans Park. And that night, After the Mission's going to have another fundraising situation. So hopefully we can get the parish involved in what we are doing at the public library, through the sheriff's department, and whatever other organizations that are willing to help us put Vets United together.
Hold on, Mrs. Smith. Mr. Babin has a light.
Mr. Smith, thank you very much. I know I saw you at the museum
Yeah,
last
we was
night when you
together
gave
last
this
night.
presentation. We have three veterans up here, Mr. Harding,
I met Mr.
Mr.
Harding.
Guidry, and myself, okay? So we are definitely behind you. I would like for this council to take up exactly what he's asking. We can proclaim that, we can do that as a council, okay? And have a proclamation read at our first meeting in the month of May, or at our next meeting in April, if we can do it, which is before the month of May.
Well,
So
whatever you choose,
I'm
willing.
I don't know if we need to make that in the form of a motion, because that's not on the agenda tonight.
I don't think it, Mr. Babin. You can just request that staff
Okay,
put that together.
we're just
and put it
gonna
on the agenda.
request that, I'll request that we have that done, that this council and this government proclaims that the month of May will be Veterans
Really,
Month.
thank you.
And thank you for your service. And you said it's the 23rd at the library?
Public library, we start at 10 o'clock in the morning.
Which
It's on a
public
Saturday.
library?
The main library.
The main library. Okay, I got that down. I'll try to
And
make
on the
it.
28th of May, we hope that we can get this program off at the park. And I think I have to see South Down. Do you have anything to do with South Down?
No, it's a private,
We have to go to them, so
you have to go to
I'll go
South Down.
see them.
Great.
I'll get to them. But as long as you're behind it,
thank you, Mr. Smith.
I thank you
You have
very
our
much.
support.
Thank you for your service.
Ms. Lucretia McBride wishes to address the council relative to applications submitted for council review.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Lucretia McBride, 119 Burkwall Drive. I wanted to address the council about the applications that are submitted to sit on the committees, the commissions, the various boards. I do a lot of public records requests for historical review, and I find that it's a chronic issue. People do not fill out the applications entirely, okay? They're the rubber stamp, got them this day, here's the date, here they come out for council review. You're going to appoint someone or nominate someone to sit on very important boards that deal with lots of money, lots of issues, and the application's not even filled out. I would like to bring this to your attention. It needs to be corrected. Can we put something in place?
Well, thank you, Ms. McBride. I think you did bring that to our attention, and I think staff is aware, and
I can barely hear you.
okay. I think staff is aware of Ms. McBride, and we try to get people to fill out the
I
applications
guess,
completely.
they get really busy. I know they work really, really hard. I'm familiar with that. But, we set out in the community and we pay attention to what you do. These documents end up becoming historical documents and/or legal documents later. They become very important. They have purpose. They need to be treated with some respect. Those questions are on the application for a reason. And there's a reason why you all should pay attention to what questions are answered and which ones are not. So if we can get a move on, trying to get people to understand. Now, if they don't understand a question, they should put like a little question mark, or I don't know what this question means. But there are too many applications that come to you that aren't filled out.
Well,
Thank you.
Thank you for bringing it to our attention, Ms. McBride. Speaker cards. Well, no, those were already on the agenda. Not seeing any more speaker cards. We'll move on to committee reports. Public Service Committee, Mr. John Amity.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I make a motion that the council accept and ratify the minutes of the Public Services Committee meeting held on April 11th, 2022, and I have one public hearing to introduce an ordinance to amend the 2022 adopted operating budget, budgeted positions, and five-year capital outlay budget of the Terrebonne Parish Consolidated Government for the following items and to provide for related matters. Houma Police Department, U.S. Department of Justice, $500,000. The Petite Facility Improvements, $10,000. Levy District, $800,000. 118 Drainage Project, $232,800. East Side Police Station, $75,925. Code Violation Compliance, $8,400. Add full-time admin coordinator 2 and delete full-time admin tech 1, and call a public hearing on said matter on Wednesday, April 27, 2022 at 6:30 p.m. Thank you.
We have a motion by Mr. John Amity, seconded by Mr. Carl Harding. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item B, Community Development and Planning Committee, Mr. Steve Trosclair.
You would give me a minute? Because Mr. Hampton said he gave it to me and I don't see it. So he's presently getting me a copy of it.
You should have received the minutes for each of the committees with, did you receive that? Everyone should have.
Well, if the council doesn't mind, we could move over to the Policy, Procedure, and Legal Committee and get back to Mr. Trosclair. Ms. Domingue.
I make a motion that the council accept and ratify the minutes of the Policy, Procedure, and Legal Committee held on March 21st, 2022, and I have 2 public hearings. Number 1, introduce and to establish and define the Terrebonne Parish visible precinct boundaries and call a public hearing on Wednesday, April 27th, 2022 at 6:30 p.m. Number 2, introduce an ordinance to establish and define the Terrebonne Parish Council District boundaries and call a public hearing on Wednesday, April 27th, 2022 at 6:30 p.m.
Motion by Ms. Domingue, seconded by Mr. Carl Harding. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? If there is no objection, I will return to Community Development and Planning, Mr. Steve Trosclair.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to apologize to Mr. Hampton for insinuating that he didn't give it to me. I'd like to make a motion that the council accept and ratify the minutes of the Community Development and Planning Committee held on April 11, 2022, and I have 2 public hearings. First was to introduce an ordinance to create a no parking zone along the south side of Main Street, Louisiana, Highway 24, from the intersection of Odu Street to Wolf Parkway, and to provide for the installation of said signs, and call a public hearing on Wednesday, April 27, 2022 at 6:30 p.m. Second one is introduce an ordinance to authorize the lease of property at 8033 Main Street, corner of Main and Gabash Streets, Houma, Louisiana 70360, parcel number 18796, from property owners. Authorize the parish president to execute any and all documents necessary to lease this property and to provide for matters relative thereto, and calling for a public hearing on said matter Wednesday, April 27, 2022 at 6:30 p.m.
Motion by Mr. Steve Trosclair, second by Mr. John Amity. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? I guess we have a speaker card. Ms. Lucretia McBride had a separate item she wanted to speak, so I entertain a motion to revisit public comment. Moved by Mr. John Amity, seconded Mr. Steve Trosclair. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? We're revisiting public wishing to address the council. Ms. Lucretia McBride. Oh, I'm sorry, hold on. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Lucretia McBride, 119 Burkwell Drive, Houma, Louisiana. Okay, by now, everybody knows the importance I put on documents. And I promote our agenda throughout the parish. I help people understand this agenda. So it was brought to my attention that we've now changed the rules up here on our courtesy, okay? Now, I'm all for treat everybody respectful. You shouldn't be coming up here taking everything personal. It's just business. Your business and our taxpayer money. But I did read this, and I do watch the meetings, and I'm like, okay, does this apply to one of the council members that seemed to get upset and argue and provoke, or was this maybe an unruly guest that came up and got upset? I don't really care what it was. I would like you to change one word so we don't feel like you're telling us we cannot come to you. It's that one word, issue. People come up here because they have an issue with something, and it should be with something that's on the agenda. And when they address you, yes, they should be respectful and keep their little talk to the agenda item. So maybe you could change that one word, limited to the issue, and cannot involve individuals or staff-related matters. Thank you. How about just agenda item? Because you have the power to shut someone down or calm them down or ask them to clarify whatever their issue is about the agenda item. So I just want to bring that to your attention. The word issue, it don't work, okay?
Thank you, Ms. McBride. Okay, motion to go back into regular order.
Second.
Motion, Mr. Dirk Gidry, second is Steve Trosclair. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Okay, where were we on this agenda? Notice of meetings. Approve attendance to the 2022 National Association of Counties Annual Conference and Exposition from July 20th to the 24th, 2022 in Adams County, Denver, Colorado. Move Mr. Gidry.
Second.
Seconded Mr. Jessica Doming. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Appointments to various boards, committees, and commissions, and you don't have to put your light on because I was told I have to repeat these motions anyway. So Recreation District Number 2-3 Board, 3 expiring terms on 5/31/22. Mr. Ren Halford expresses an interest in being reappointed. Mr. David Mabel submits application and resume for consideration, and Mr. Jerome Boykin Sr. submits application and resume for consideration. Motion to open, close, and appoint from Mr. Dirk Gidry, Mr. Danny Babin, seconded by Mr. John Navy. All in favor, say aye. My time is up. Any opposed? Okay. I know some of those guys were in the audience, but I think we've lost them. Item B, Recreation District Number 11 Board, 1 vacancy due to resignation. Ms. Diana Collins submits application and resume for consideration. Mr. Carl Harding makes a motion to open, close, and appoint Ms. Collins, seconded by Mr. Navy. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Ms. Collins, would you like to say something? Okay.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. 6, vacancies to various boards, committees, and commissions currently and upcoming. We have the Veterans Memorial District, 1 unexpired term due to resignation representing the parish president south of the Intercoastal, and 1 expired term representing the Vietnam Veterans of America. Recreation District Number 7 Board, 1 expiring term on March 25th, 2022. Terrebonne Parish Tree Board, 1 expiring term on February 22nd, 2022, and 1 vacancy due to a resignation. Terrebonne ARC, 3 expiring terms on May 31st, 2022. Homa Board of Zoning Adjustments, 1 vacancy due to a resignation. The vacancy is for an alternate member. Announcements. Do we have any council announcements? How about Ms. Jessica Doming?
Yes, I will be very, very quick. April 23rd is going to be a very, very busy day in Terrebonne Parish. We are going to have a Pirates and Boots Festival in downtown Homa on April 23rd. Also, the Relay for Life is April 23rd, as well as the Veterans event that we spoke of earlier. And I do want to wish all of Terrebonne Parish a happy Easter.
Thank you very much. Mr. John Navy.
My announcement is more to the public and anybody out here can actually hear what I'm about to say, but I enjoy the fact that we've been getting these response back from Chris on a lot of housing that you're finding, and I want to appreciate you doing a great job on that. And I want the public to know that we are being very diligent with that to make sure that people find housing. And Clay Narcan and David Rome is also doing a great job. So y'all staff are doing a wonderful job. I just want to make that comment to y'all. Thank y'all.
Mr. Babin.
Yes, I'd just like to announce, we've been talking about summer camps, and Buy Black, which is Rec 9, unfortunately, has to cut it off at 230 applicants so far, all right? Buy DeLarge can take up to about 175, and they still have a little bit of room. So if someone needs the summer camp, it is much cheaper than daycare, all right? And they do a fabulous job. Also, on the 26th of this month, it's a Tuesday, we will be dedicating the first home built by the Mennonites down in Dulac, okay? And it's a big deal in Dulac, ladies and gentlemen. We've got private donations in excess of $1.8 million. So, again, if you can make it on the 26th, appreciate it. And as Ms. Domingue said, happy Easter to everybody.
Thank you, Mr. Babin. Mr. Harding?
Yes, some proclamations were given out tonight. It's not that the intent was to leave anyone out, but the intent was to actually let everybody know that those that were doing it, and perhaps from an unlikely place in an inopportune time. So we appreciate everyone that's done anything for the recovery of Terrebonne Parish in all of the districts, recognizing everyone that actually done something. And the last thing I have to say, I just love Terrebonne Parish. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harding. And again, on behalf of the chair, have a happy Easter with your family. Engineers reports. As per Mr. Dirk Guidry, seconded Mr. John Amity. All in favor say aye. Any opposed?
Motion adjourned.
Motion adjourned, Ms. Jessica Domingue, seconded by Mr. Dirk Guidry. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? We are adjourned. Thanks, guys.